I just think Sam Pepper and Willie Rioli are the spark players that bring emotion to this team, and they are an emotional team, whether you like it or not. He just does little things. He's clever with his hands. He burrows in after the ball, and he takes it from inside to outside. He's kicked 19 goals for the season. He's been a beauty. And this man here, well, the coach is starting to trust him. He put him in at the centre bounce last week. I just think he's a fantastic, almost a second tall forward behind Mitch Georgiades. He's kicked 33, he's had 20 disposals a week, has been playing further up the field. 16-16 he's kicked this year. I love the anger that he brings to this team.
Yeah, I think Pal Pepper's a real barometer for Port Adelaide, and he's been the general in the forward line, nearly the enforcer in the forward line. Kingy came in as a midfielder, as a young midfielder, sort of was made, I think he sort of got bypassed a little bit by some of the talent through that Port Adelaide midfield, finds himself in the forward line. It's opportunity now for him to be the enforcer in the middle of the ground for the Port Adelaide Football Club when he's in there.
So the footy, directly after the footy, you get a nice big 1 hour, 1.5 hour game wrap with Sarah, with Lee Montagna and with Jason Dunstall, and then get the cuppa ready to go. ESPN Day 2 from Barbados, Australia. Castle for 180, the West Indies 4 for 57. So it is a long night of sport ahead right here on Fox.
For the first time in a decade.
All right, folks, welcome back. It's Thursday Night Football, and of course, it's Port Adelaide taking on the might of the Carlton Football Club here tonight. Just looking at the lineups, the ins for Port Adelaide, Alir coming in, Logan Evans also coming in, Hugh Jackson and Travis Boak going out, Jackson Mead, Jeremy Finlayson, Ryan Burton, Christian Moraes going out. No new players, no milestone games for anyone from Port Adelaide. For Carlton, though, coming into the squad is Jordan Boyd, Lewis Young, Billy Wilson, Flynn Young going out, Corey Durden, Mark Pinnay, Jackson Binns, Matthew Carroll. Of course, the new players are Billy Wilson, Flynn Young, milestones. Two young fellows making their debut games, Billy Wilson and Flynn Young. All right, there are your squads. I tell you what, it's going to be a ring-a-ding-ding game over here in Adelaide Oval tonight against these two sides. It should be absolutely fantastic. Let me just get that ready for when the quarter comes up. Just having a look at these two teams, where they sit on the AFL ladder. And of course, Carlton sit down there in 10th position, played 14 games, sitting on 24 points, 6 wins, 8 losses. 105.1 is their percentage. Of course, Port Adelaide down there played 14 games, 24 points also. Just a percentage of 84, 6 wins, 8 losses. Carlton, Port Adelaide, both sitting on 24 points, 2 games outside of the top 8. Percentage really low for Port Adelaide, so they're going to struggle. But I tell you what, whoever wins this game is still possible mathematically to get into the top 8 and have a shot for the finals. Whoever loses, well, it's pretty much game, season, match over. For whoever loses this game tonight. As I said, it's a big match coming up this evening, Carlton versus Port Adelaide, over there at Adelaide Oval. It's going to be an absolute cracker. Rajat, how you going, Rajat Shamar? What is this? This is AFL football, Australian football, of course, the greatest game in the world. Let me just try and load that. If you have a look at there, the odds for tonight, Port Adelaide 172, Carlton 210. Let's try and bring... there's the warm up. We will be getting underway in just a couple of minutes' time, but this is Australian rules football. Yo, Addy G, go flag mantle 6. NRL is better. G'day, Paul. How you going? No chance in the world. Us Victorians, we love our football. Hey, you know what? NRL's not too bad. Also, we love the Melbourne Storm down here, and they always go pretty well. So that's all right. Hey, we don't mind both sports. All Aussie sports are pretty good there, Paul. So we love that. Soccer is the best. I tell you what, we've got a few good soccer teams here in Melbourne also. So up the wires. I tell you what, being Aussies, we just love all sport. Isn't that right, Paul? At EG, we just love all sport here in Australia. That is something we do enjoy. And of course, we've got plenty of sports here in Australia. Of course, the NRL, the cricket, the football, all that type of stuff we love. But should be a fantastic, exciting game here. As I said, the team who loses this will be just about done and dusted for their season. Round 16 And of course, we've got about 7 or 8 rounds to go. Hey, Bob Bell, how you doing? Sports-loving country. That is exactly right, Rajat. That is exactly right. We love our sport here, no matter what it is. We'll certainly watch the sport. And of course, definitely got one of the big races here. Of course, you know the Melbourne Cup, the horse racing, the Melbourne Cup, which is pretty famous around the world. We've got the Melbourne Grand Prix, the Formula One here in Melbourne. So definitely Melbourne is the sporting capital of Australia. And it's absolutely fantastic. Of course, we've got the best football stadium in Australia here, the MCG in Melbourne. But of course, tonight's game is over in Adelaide, South Australia, the Adelaide Oval there between Port Adelaide, which is a home game for them, taking on Carlton. No idea who to tip tonight. Good to hear you going well, Bob. Good stuff, good stuff. Yeah, I'm not sure, Addy G, who's going to win tonight. Look, I think, as I was saying, I think Port Adelaide are probably a 30-point team. Better off at home. They certainly do play better at home than travelling. Like quite a few sides. But you know. That being said, Carlton have really been in the doldrums lately. Their game, they just can't get to get their game in hand and get everything working for them. So I think I'm tipping. Actually, I didn't put the which is the most famous game in Australia. That'll have to be Aussie rules football. I would have to think so. I know. Look, there's a few people that would say rugby, but definitely I would say Aussie rules football. Aussie rules football gets played in pretty much all states here in Australia. I'll start the poll and you can put your tips in who you think's going to win. Hey, Emmanuel, how you going, brother? What's happening? What's going on there? Yeah, look, the football here, that's played in a few states. It's played in Victoria, Canberra, New South Wales, Queensland, South Australia, Western Australia. So we just really got to hit, and of course Tasmania. So we really need to, and I think we've actually played a few games in Northern Territory. So it's pretty much covered every state in Australia. This magnificent game is played. Yeah, well, look, we're not too bad in cricket. I think our cricket teams were certainly a lot better when we were back in the days of Shane Warne and Alan Border and all those type of players. I think these days, they're just a little bit iffy in our cricket sides. Hey, Mark, how you doing? Welcome in. This game's going to get underway in about 30 seconds time to a minute. It should be a fascinating game on hand this evening. But yeah, look, I think our cricket team, we've got a little bit left to be desired at the moment. But yeah, AFL is the best sport. Absolutely. I tell you what, the amount of kilometres some of these guys run, their fitness levels are incredible. They take hard hits. They don't wear any padding or anything like that. Their skill with the oval ball is exceptional. They've got to, use both right, left hand, both right, left foot to do it all. They've got to be really quick thinking and, have composure to do it as well. Yeah, the cricket is shocking. The cricket, I tell you what, I don't know what's going on. I still think, back in the Shane Warne days and the Border days, like I was saying, with, was it Rodney Marsh and all those type of players, just fantastic. Oh, the cricket days I used to love, but yeah, I think one of my favourite players definitely was Shane Warne when I used to watch him bowl. He was just fantastic. He's the type of character that can never be replaced in Australian cricket. We certainly sorely miss Never Tear Us Apart time. Oh, that's, well, we don't, yeah, that's it. We don't need to listen to Never Tear Us Apart for Port Adelaide. Of course, their theme song that they always love to play, but I don't know. Can Carlton tear them apart tonight? That's the question. I don't think so. I think this is going to be, I think this could be a tight, possibly a tight old game to begin with, first, maybe second quarter, but I think we'll see Port Adelaide come up and get over the top. Hey, that's enough of me chit-chatting, folks. Let's get down to the action. The bounce of the Bulls just about underway.
Matty Hill, live from the Adelaide Oval. Lovely to be here, Howie, and what an atmosphere it is as Port Adelaide host Carlton, 12th hosting 10th. De Koning and also Sweets to start us off. De Koning, a little nudge to Sweet. Free kick for a block, De Koning. Eyes darting all over the place, long down the corridor, over the head of Chin Cotter. Curnow cutted it towards Cripps. Burgoyne, Drew's handball was cut off, and it's going to be a ball up.
You can see Miles Bergman. He's the one that's gone to the captain, Patrick Cripps. Big match up there.
Coney against Sweet early. Sweet wins the tap. No one able to get clear, including Rosie.
Both teams off 5-day breaks. As it's one down initially by Sweet. One hand held with Hewitt, so he gets the free kick.
Yeah, good starting from the Blues. Proactive after the footy. Free kick in the ruck at the centre bounce for a Shepherd. Looking to jump to Koenig.
31 touches last week. Hewitt towards the pocket. Curnow had 2 to beat. Burgoyne goes in hard on Motlop, and a ball up.
So you look for little actions already. The blocking on Charlie Curnow to try and get him free was well. He got a clean run at that one.
Carlton pressing early stages through the hands of Farrell and Sin. Just camps over the footy. Back towards Farrell. It's a free kick going the way of Port Adelaide, deep in defence.
Port Adelaide making sure that Cripps was well and truly away from the scene. As Farrell's kick down the line, draws a crowd to Koning's at the back. Visentini was in the right spot, but there's been a free kick, and it's going to Silvani. So the locals didn't like it. Tense early moments here, first 90 seconds of play. Silvani props it up inside 50. McGovern had a fair bit of it. Chance for Williams, blazes away and misses everything.
Probably should have taken that mark, Mitch McGovern there. Interesting matchup ahead of the ball. We know he's a very good aerialist, Mitch McGovern, and does have the ability to hit the scoreboard. Worked his opponent nicely out to the ball. Just got to make sure you finish your work, especially early here away from home.
The Blues locking it inside 50 early. Rosie, a little chipping ball. Horn Francis socks up. Very short into Brandon Zerk. Thatcher immediately releases. This is better. Port forward off the boot of Bergman. Deep to a one-on-one. Georgiades, the hot hand from last week. Silvani caught in the tackle by that man.
So a ball up to Koenig and Visentini. De Koenig slapped it down. Butters went in hard. And
It's a hot start. You can just see Port Adelaide trying to own the corridor, Jack. They're trying to force the game back towards the middle. Carlton pressure right up at the moment.
So up it goes again. De Koenig could almost catch it itself. Only to Bergman. Bergman skied one. It's going to sit right up in the square here. Silvani went the fist. Was it the right option? Lord goes in to help. Silvani's handball almost cut off. Wilson, the debutant, nearly had his head cut off and got a free kick.
Well, there they are. The Flash brothers down there. Gives away a 50, but the pressure's on early in this game. Both clubs pushing in hard to try and get pressure at multiple numbers around the ball.
There's the family of Billy Wilson on debut out of Dramana. They'll be up and about in that part of the world, cheering their man on. First possession, gets a 50 and loses his headband, all in his first stat.
Never forget your first one, Howie. Left-hand handball versus Richard Cole.
Silvani across to Wiedering. Just defensive side of the wing. Reasonably static up forward, so drives a long ball. Alir will be in the area, fisted away from Curnow. Power Pepper through hard as his Acres coming back the other way. Off the instep, wobbles it inside 50 to Koenig. Motlop creates space, went for the check side, got it on the wrong side of the football.
It was a good build-up. It's on the Koenig's clean pick up there, but you can see Charlie Curnow get the free jump of the ball from a block from Zach Williams. Positive side for Carlton.
Big matchup here is Alir versus Zach Williams. He's trying to drop off at every opportunity to get back to support on Curnow.
Sweet led the race down to Rosie off a step outside 50, grabbed by Georgiades up the ground. 7 goals here against Melbourne 2 weeks ago. Sprinting for it is Jackson. He really did work hard. Here's Lydi. former fridge technician, now AFL footballer. Onto the right boot, it's a magnificent story. Kicks inside 50 towards Burn Jones. Bobbled out of his hands. Wilson was about to run away with it, but it's a free kick, Port Adelaide. Burn Jones can go back for the first set shot of the night.
And he's got the direct matchup on Adam Sard. Took front positioning in the marking contest, and just there the umpire has paid a throw.
Best player for Port in goal assists last year, All-Australian 2020. Burn Jones comes in from 45 metres out, the first set shot, and the goal umpire didn't flinch. Port Adelaide on the board.
Well, it's a great way to start, Jack, if you've been given the role and the responsibility to negate Adam Sard or his influence out of the back line. You see there he took the front position late. And just here, I think he's paid it for the throw. But great conversion. Clinical finish there, Darcy Burn-Jones.
And you want to take your opportunities when you do get them. Carlton last week, 1 goal 5 in the first quarter. This week, get an opportunity like that at home to silence a side that's come over here and has dominated the first part of this game. Carlton, a great finish by Darcy Burn-Jones.
Former fridge technician.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Who was that?
That was Money Lydi, number 50.
Yeah.
Early research. Decoding in the middle, tries to grab it away from Sweet. Free kick going against Cripps.
It's a good matchup for Patrick Cripps, Miles Bergman. Just a bigger type of midfielder. Can go with Cripps on those one-on-ones around the ball.
Takes a bit off the kick to Farrell.
So Farrell, edge of the centre square. Gee, the atmosphere's really built up here tonight. So much on the line as Butters stabs at it towards Georgiades. Oh, he almost dragged it down. That would have been something. Doherty then dumps it on the boot, and it's back where it came from, Farrell.
He could have a go here. He could really light this one up. Just wonder whether he's got the confidence, how he looks like he's just sizing it up at the moment. Just take a step or two to the left. He could almost get to 52, 53. That's within his range.
With a strong left foot on him. Always known to play multiple roles as Kane Farrell. But this is certainly within range from about 53. Gives it everything. It's beautiful off the boot. And Silvani's claiming it on the line, but it's a goal. Wouldn't be the first time a Silvani's tried to touch it on the line. It's through.
Well, that's a player who knows his range, Jack. I mean, it's line ball. We'll probably go upstairs and have a look, but goal umpire was confident. He played it perfectly. I mean, you are better off having the shot on the 50 arc than trying to find a target and then get conversion. You're about a 25% chance from here. And that is a beautiful finish.
There's a lovely left foot kick. The panic from Sam Doherty, though, just to pick the ball up and just blast it into what is a really dangerous zone. Opposition defence is set up for turnovers like this. Doherty has to be better there. A blast kick like that, or whether the forward needs to be a little bit higher to make sure that's a contest. It's Lewis Young there. Just cannot have easy marks in your own D50.
Carlton won 11 first terms for the season, which is ranked number 1 in the competition. They've given up 2 goals early already tonight. Cripps gets his hands on it. Carlton wobble the ball forward to a contest. Spills free. Farrell, the man who just kicked the goal. Radagale, a nice step for a big man, the number 27s. Puts it out wide. Haynes is in the contest. Spills to ground to Doherty. Immediately caught from behind and Porter away again through the veteran Boak.
Richards did really well, affected the tackle, got the football, and then a handball to Pal Pepper. Over the top to Jackson. He has to be quick. The young man scoops it back to Pal Pepper. He drops the football towards Silvani. Gave it to Fogarty. Fogarty's kick along the wing, a 50-50. Young just disposing of his opponent and gave away a free kick.
Yeah, pretty glaring, that free kick there from Lewis Young. Predominantly plays back's been slung forward tonight, obviously back into the team.
So a little bit of fancy work on the outer side might work out okay. Butters goes in laterally. Nice ball to Drew. can go either side. In the end, he just dumps it along. There's a man out the back, Burn Jones. Well done coming back with the flight. Silvani arrived in the nick of time.
Yeah, and again, that's off Adam Saad. Now, Saad's responsibility, that's his tagging responsibility, and Silvani got back and saved the day. He was out the back by himself, 25 metres clear.
Great
Four mentions.
Silvani, as you mentioned him already, and his wife Jo.
De Koning with the big fistness is going to bounce back out. Yes, the famous words of Sandy Roberts. So touched on the line, no. That famous Michael Long goal in the grand final.
Carlton have been a very average defensive 50 stoppage team. The alarm bell's going off everywhere here.
Sweet at the front. Had it down. Drew. Didn't get purchase to it. De Koning virtually off a step. Straight down the throat of Aaliyah. Couldn't grab it. On hands and knees out to Hollands, and Cripps running through. Had an illness issue leading in tonight, but out there on the ground. It's been given to Curnow. Look at the goal square. No one home. Offline though.
Interesting matchup for Port Adelaide. They're going Radagalier on Curnow. So usually Radagalier's been trying to zone off and beat the intercept marker, but he's got the big job on Curnow. So Alier might be the one that is doing the intercepting tonight.
Yeah, good call, Roo. Looks like he's trying to roll back off McGovern, and at times it's Williams.
Cinder resets. Clever disguise kick to Rosé. Fooled the Carlton. The defence trying to prevent it. So the skipper in his defensive 50. He's got the switch. Eventually goes in that direction. After Travis Boat logging the wrong long hair in game 379. Boat, and it's a good hit too. Into the hands of Jackson. Now Jones. And Porter got some space on the outer wing.
Richards. Inboard. Butters.
Starting to become a worry, the uncontested marks here.
Good kick inside 50. Fizantini a couple of steps in front of his opponent.
Jack at 16 to the marks in favour of Port Adelaide. This is what they did after the bye. They started kicking more rather than handballing. And at this stage, Carlton not putting enough pressure on to stop these uncontested marks.
So plenty of the action on the left of screen so far. Dante Fizantini hasn't kicked a goal this year from 6 matches. He's given that a bit of a roost, but offline.
So a worrying sign for Michael Voss and Carlton early. As you mentioned, those uncontested marks, and that just comes down to picking holes in the Carlton defence. Port Adelaide's kickers using the ball well. We know Zach Butters is an excellent kick. Got to be, if you're within inside 30 to 40 metres, you've got to be right on your opponent.
Side, risky ball, falls to Richards. Made it really difficult for Haynes. Rosie tries to pierce another ball inside towards Georgiades. Flies. Good spoil coming across from Boyd in the long sleeves.
Risky kick from Adam Saad. To pull that back into the corridor, you need to have a player all alone. He was under pressure immediately.
Stiff there, Georgiades. Could have been front on contact, I reckon.
Gee, we might be screaming his name out a bit. Georgiades tonight. He's sniffing a mark, isn't he? Fizantini won it down. Heads back towards the boundary line. Hewitt in the phone booth. Chance here for Ports. It's completely offline and just registering a score. Richards, who's had a fair bit of it early.
That's what Darcy Byrne-Jones brings when he's in the forward line, that intensity.
No easy exit at the moment for the Blues. Doherty delays the kick. Gee, it had to be perfect. It was. Haynes doesn't get over the man on the mark. They'll come again here. Port Adelaide through Richards. Haynes tries to fix up the mistake made earlier on. It's hard at the moment for the Blues to get out of their defensive 50.
Well, it makes it really hard to coach when those sorts of errors are happening.
Fizantini from the clouds comes in. Only as far as Hewitt. Snatched by Bergen. Tried to get it to Powell Pepper. Lord was all over him. Chera back to Doherty. Doherty with a little bit of time this time. Kick was a bit shallow. Puts Fogarty under pressure, and then grabbed by Rosie and eventually taken
a
away.
risky kick by Doherty to come out this side of the ground, but Fogarty was the one there, 1v2 against two Port Adelaide superstars, and he actually took the ball out. That's a win for Carlton to reset themselves now.
Port Adelaide +3, 7-4 in the inside 50s in the early running. Butters, piercing ball, not the direction he was after, straight to Haynes. Now there's an exit out through Lord.
And also Doherty working in concert along the flank, spearing ball. Too hot for Hollands. Grabbed by Zirk Thatcher. Over the top, Jackson. Aaliyah, true centre wing. Little Chip Richards. It's building again for Port. Called to play on. He just nudged forward. He's trying to con the umpire. Now he's dancing around. Doesn't know where to go. Jackson up the ground to assist him. And then the kick inside 50. Up they go. Burgoyne was the third man up. Georgiades at the front. It's claimed it.
Yeah. See, when he locks his eyes on the ball, Jack, he just flies. He's just an aerial beast. Have a look at him here. Coming in from the side. Shook Wiedering. Terrific contested mark. Worth their weight in goal.
So fifth in the Coleman at the moment on 33. As far as Port's goal kickers, he's 14 in front of Willie Rioli. And little angle to speak of here. He's sniffing goals early, and that is straight through the middle for Mitch Georgiades.
Well, he kicked 33 goals coming into the match. 27 of the 33 have been from marks or free kicks. You've got to defeat that first opportunity with this man. He shook Wiedering, it's all over. So this is his game. Just let's have a look how he does it. Body on body, and he just loses him. I mean, Wiedering's the bigger body there. He's got to be stronger than that to deny Georgiades the clear run and jump at the pack.
Nearly needed to run him under the ball as soon as Georgiades took that little jab step back. He's creating space to then come across. I think Mitch Georgiades has run and jumped straight at the ball here. This one's from the side. And that's the knack of getting your hands to the right position so that when it does fall down like that, you can have a second bite at it.
Early concerns for the Blues. Burn, Jones, Farrell and Georgiades on the board. Carlton, not so. Lord Francis in the middle, can't get clear.
Come in this way, guys.
So Chincotter's going to Butters now as well at half back.
Hewitt and Boak stand next to each other.
Yes, guys. Go to this game. Contact. Lewis again here, guys.
So Lewis Young. So two Youngs in the squad for Carlton tonight. Spat out towards Boak, who throws it on the boot of the Powell Pepper direction. Chance though for Jackson. Then Richards, he has another shot at goal. This time, it's going to be caught by Georgiades.
Just got him behind Jacob Wiedering.
Watch it, Jack. He's shaking him far too easily and far too quickly.
Well, he's been a man possessed early, Georgiades.
Love to see a blocker up here on the Carlton players that come in. Powell Pepper comes in now to do it.
Using up the shot clock, that's the angle. And puts it through. He's in red-hot form in the first 10 or 15 minutes, Mitch Georgiades. 35th goal for the season.
I just wonder how bad his ankle is, Wiedering. I just, watching this matchup, watching it closely, he's just slipping out the back. When he leads, he's gaining 2 or 3 metres. There's not a lot of body work involved. And you can say that this is like you see him here, he's proactive, he's in front, he's retreating to get back now. Just don't know if that's his best work. He tends to be more confident with that, coming back, making one-on-one contact.
Well, there's no contact at the moment for Jacob Wiedering, and that's the battle that will happen tonight, is that Wiedering wants to bring Georgiades in nice and close to him, obviously the bigger, stronger man. And Georgiades, the agile sort of 190-centimetre key forward, he wants to get out the back like this. He's creating space for the lead-up. A bit fortuitous that it falls in his hands here, but he's being proactive on Jacob Wiedering.
Blues' strength all season has been their fast starts. They've given up 4 with only 1 behind on the board. Real concerns here for the Blues. They had a tough week, a short week, and it started poorly again tonight. Again, Port Adelaide come to the wrecking ball. Powell Pepper picks it up, goes one way, then the other, loops a hand pass. Jackson, a funny old ball, and everything's his work out at the moment. Lydi, who has not kicked an AFL goal, the fridge mechanic, will line up.
Well, I think it was a shot that maybe came off the instep there. But you've got to be in a good position to defend, and sometimes the ball falls in your hands. And then he was exactly where he should be as a winger.
Where's the sleeve on the leg after picking up sepsis last year and going through a couple of nasty operations? This for Lydi for a first AFL goal. Nails it. His team are around him and they are up.
I think he might hit the post.
Post. A let off for the Blues.
Geez, he celebrated too. As Curno's got 2 to beat with a leer, and he's got a free kick. Of course, goalless last week against North Melbourne.
Need a response here from Carlton. Need their senior core players to take control this next 5 minutes.
Plenty of the crowd rubbing their pen out in the footy records after that miss from Lydi.
Saw a few
Nothing
walking around with
worse.
the leg sleeves on.
He starts celebrating.
Yeah.
Fooled everyone, himself included.
Fogarty's kick inside 50 through the fingertips of Hewitt, still in play. Lord scrapping for it, back to Hewitt. And then Cripps centering ball. Curno couldn't quite drag it in, but did he get a free kick? Chop of the army there.
Well, there's some commentary pre-game from the Fox crew that Charlie Curnow needs to jump at the footy, and I reckon Charlie Curnow 2 weeks ago would have tried to body a Sava Radicalea under the ball here. That is Charlie Curnow jumping at the football. A clear change on what he's done in the last 2 weeks. We've seen already tonight a couple of jumps that haven't stuck, but he's brought the ball to ground. It is an excellent jump of the footy from Charlie Curnow.
And that's 2 free kicks in a row that Radicalea's given away to Curnow.
So the 2022-23 Coleman winner, goalless last week, needed a confidence booster and he's not getting it there. And listen to the fans.
Well, this is the problem here. Carlton have got to defend. Easy exits, aggressive exits.
Pressure at 168 from Carlton. Started hot in the first 2 minutes, but it's been backwards from there. Have to close the gaps on their opponents.
Sweet. Coming through his Hewitt. Slick hands to Cripps. And as far as Sin back to Powell Pepper. Lays it off by hand. Butters. It's aggressive handball. Horn Francis rides the contact, keeps the footy in.
Go through.
Farrell, Burne-Jones, Georgiades, the goal kickers for Port, with Georgiades with 2 so far. Sweet beaten by De Koning, and then mid-air from Rosie. That's effective enough. It's pinballing around the middle. Silvani by handle, Wiedering, but grabbed by Richards, who's playing like a man possessed. Grabbed by Williams. Then Chincotta has to be fast, and then spears one towards Lydi, who's marked it.
Does well before he had his first AFL go moments ago. Just clipped the post. Now Boak driving Port Adelaide forward again. Richards steps the tackle easily down in the path. Rioli protects the body. Haynes cannons into the back. Umpire says play on. Let off for the Blues. Wilson. And they wobble it only as far as Jones with the intercept.
It's just a bad turnover. That whole piece of play, just thinking they've got ages to get rid of the ball. Carlton run down twice. It was Wiedering the first time there. You've just got to take care with the ball out of your back half.
Blake Agers leaving the arena. Mark Rashido will be all over that situation. Jones hasn't kicked a goal this season. 6 career goals in 66 matches before tonight. From outside 50. Absolutely thumps it, draws it back. Clears the line. This time it's a major. Great finish.
Well, they are all over them. And conversion, what a godsend it is. They've kicked 4 of their 5 goals from outside 40 metres. 4 goals, 1 in fact. You just don't get that sort of return as an AFL average. But they just look tentative with the ball, Carlton. They want to make a mistake, want to be perfect, want to be precise. See, they're playing tight football, I think, Carlton. Hard to release when you've been under this sort of pressure all week.
First goal for the for Lockie Jones.
Third goal from turnover as well, Roo. Back in the middle. Sweet went the fist up and under. DeConing ripped off it. Bergman went in, grabbed by Hewitt. Cripps fighting for it as well. Hard football to keep hold of. He's paid holding the ball for hatching over the top. Hewitt with the free kick.
Is that clear? Move it on.
There's very little movement ahead of the ball for George Hewitt. That's where the confusion comes from.
Kicks wide. It's going to sit out for Fantasia on the grounds. So this is where Carlton really struggled last week. Their entries inside 50. They're going to get a little bit of help here with a 50.
Yeah, it was Vicentini that went round the back there. So he was the one that gave away the 50-metre penalty. It just must take the opportunity here, Razio Fantasia.
Kicked 2 last week against North Melbourne in their loss there. And he's kicked 3 for the year. 4th game for the year. So he marks his territory. Absolutely no breeze to speak of, despite being a little bit on the cold side. It's a perfect night for goal kicking. Razio Fantasia looking for Carlton's first goal of the night. He's missed.
And don't forget, 80 games at Essendon, 19 at Port Adelaide, and now playing his 18th for the Blues. Fantasia.
He's got to kick them as a senior player. You know, low disposal commodity. You've got to knock it through when you're given those sort of opportunities.
Rosie, well-weighted kick.
But you can see what they're doing here. They're making Carlton defend the full ground and then picking them apart on exit.
Bergeron got one high. Advantage paid. Farrell gets through 2 tackles. Sends it deep towards centre-half forward. Horne-Francis. Wiedering a bit slow to get rid of it. Hassled out of it. Burn-Jones. Horne-Francis. 35 out. Low. And a big miss.
Yeah, he's not right, Wiedering. He's really battling out there. You saw that low ball there. He just doesn't have the confidence to get down, fully extend. Just wonder whether you got to look at his matchup. Half a fumble. Doesn't look the same player tonight. Admirable that he's out there, but you have to get the matchups that suit him now.
So Wilson, the debutant, kicks it long. It's going to be a free kick. It's going to Carlton. Billy Wilson, who impressed for the Dandenong Stingrays. Pick 34 in the 2023 draft.
The one positive for Carlton's been Curnow with the. He's got his 3rd free kick now in area contest, so clearly giving the Port Tour defenders something to think about.
To the hot spot, Aaliyah dragged to the front, Radek Aaliyah behind him. Strong.
What do they need to fix at quarter time, the Blues, David King?
I just think they need to play with some composure. They're blasting the ball, they're turning the ball over, giving it back to Port Adelaide, and they really haven't stopped them once they've got into flow. When they've been able to move the ball with freedom, so 3 of their 5 goals have come from the defensive half, just uncontested marking their way up the ground.
5 goals to 0. Horror start for the Blues. So DeConing with the possession. Looks to the middle of the oval, nothing on there.
Zach Thatcher free down the line when this looks like it's going to go.
Goes in that direction. Curnow in front. Big fist from Aaliyah. Manny Lydi's happy just to lock it in.
Drew overruns it. Hollands grabbed by the big man Sweet and locked up.
Up now, up. Thank you. Good. Jordan. Good.
Sweet looks at DeConing, taps it down to Cripps. Bergman worries him out, it breaks free and clear. Funny little kick, it'll still work out. It's all going Port's way. Richards takes a bounce. Back to Bergman. Chipping ball. Horne-Francis had one opportunity. Goes a low little ball. Georgiades kick 2. He got no room to move on the other side.
What about the express break from stoppage there from Bergman? That was so exciting. Set that whole play up.
Well, Carlton have been very proficient in first quarters through the year. This has been a shell shock for them early on tonight. They're going to get a free kick late in the piece here, but it's on the siren. So it's Mitch Georgiades with 2. There's a little bit of a fracas on Farrell, Burne-Jones, Jones, the goal kickers. And plenty of feeling. Both teams still trying to stay alive towards the top 8 in 2025. A bit of a lip there from Jason Horne-Francis. But it's Port Adelaide by 31 as we head into the quarter-time break. And don't forget, it couldn't set up more beautifully tomorrow night. Some big names back for the Swans. The Dogs are in great form as well. Sydney and the Dogs. Friday night football on Fox. Can't wait for that one.
All right, there we go. Quarter time, 5-4, 34 Port Adelaide, Carlton. Well, I tell you what, for a lot of people, they love to see this. Just a 3 behind, 3 points. Of course, that could have been 3 goals for Carlton. The first one, Curnow took a mark on about 52-metre mark, swung around quickly, had a ping on goal with an open, vacant goal line. Of course, trickled over to the left in the other 2 shots. Curnow having a shot. Left a post, and then the other player had a shot. So should have been at least 2 goals. 2 bad misses by Carlton to keep them in there. And, of course, Port Adelaide had one running into an open goal and missed as well. But, 31 points the margin here at the Adelaide Oval a quarter time. Carlton will probably think themselves lucky. They're only 31 points behind. This is like watching an AFL senior team playing, as I said, the Werribee under-18s. It's like Carlton, they don't really know what to do. They're just not putting the pressure on. The ball's living down the forward half of Port Adelaide pretty much all of that quarter. Port Adelaide just seem to be doing whatever they want, anytime they want. It was a good start from Port Adelaide. As I was saying, Carlton usually kick off to a reasonably good start, but certainly not in this one. But we know Port Adelaide are a better team at home. I think the quarter-time break came at the right time for Carlton. They'll probably go in and just adjust a few things. I think one of the issues is Carlton's squad. I just don't see the quality in their players. Port versus Zimbabwe, it's a little bit like that. I just don't think Carlton's got the quality of players. As I said, they just haven't got the stars there to compose themselves and to think quick with doing it within their own comfort zone. That's the way it sees. They just seem to be a bit rushed, a little bit afraid to kick and run and be strong with the ball, and they're just making errors and turnovers. Gee, what's going on? Go Freo. Shut Sanor. Hey, let's go and have a look at some of these stats and the goal scorers. Of course, for Port Adelaide, Mitch Georgiades tops the table, the only multiple goal scorer out on the ground. He looks pretty good out there. He's kicked 2 straight goals from his 3 kick. Lockie Jones, Kane Farrell, Darcy Burne-Jones singles for Port Adelaide. To the Carlton goal scorers, sorry folks, I'm here to say Carlton did not kick a goal in that opening term. There we go. Who's on top of the ladder? Let's have a quick look just for Emmanuel and Natty G. There we go. Collingwood sits on top of the AFL ladder. They're a game and a half clear and percentage, and will continue to, get that out further when they play West Coast this week and then Carlton the following week. That's going to be fantastic. There we go. The ball magnets, Port Adelaide, top 3. Joey Richards on 9, 5 and 4, 2 clearances. Hugh Jackson with 9 also. Connor Rose on 8. All kicks for him with a couple of clearances. Jack Silvani tops the table for Carlton on 6 possessions. There we go. Look, I think, who is it? Wiedering, Silvani and probably Cripps. They're probably the 3 players that are safe for Carlton. Every other player, I would think, maybe Tom De Koning could stay there. I'm not sure. I reckon every other player should be up for grabs to trade, because I think the quality of player in Carlton, I think it's just horrendous. I think, at some stages, I think I just about put West Coast above Carlton for quality in their side. That's about where I put Carlton at the moment, down with West Coast at the moment. Carlton are just one of those sides. They can come out firing and then one little thing goes wrong, and then it's like they go and sulk in a corner. Nothing happening. There we go. Zach Butters on 5 with Travis Boak for Port Adelaide. Let's just quickly... Here's one of my favourites, Sam Palpepper, just the 4 disposals. Who else we got to have a look at? As I said, Georgiades, 3 kicks, 3 disposals, 3 marks, 2 goals. Looks dangerous down there. Mind you, there we go. Hang on a minute. Radaglia is going all right, just the 2 touches, doing a few spoils. Curnow was a little bit... he wasn't too bad. If I can find him, I'd bring his stats up. Let me see if I can find Curnow. He did have a few... my gosh, where is he? There's Charlie Curnow. There we go. 4 disposals, 4 kicks, 1 mark, 1 tackle, 2 behinds. One of those, of course, was a snap from the 50 and just trickled left, and the other one was pretty much directly in front, probably 25 metres out, went left to post. He's down on form, he's down on confidence. He needs to get that back. Carlton need to lift. It'd be interesting to see what the coach, Michael Voss, said to him at quarter time to get them left. But Port Adelaide just cruising along at the moment. Can Port Adelaide extend their lead as they go into half-time? Can Carlton actually regain a little bit of form? Let's get back down to the ground and we'll find out as we take you in to the second quarter.
Is 2.4. As we mentioned earlier, he's 5th in the Coleman and he's already near that average in the first quarter with 2. So we're about to get underway. Second quarter with Port strapping Carlton up against the ropes in the first 30 minutes of play. Away we go. Sweet went on his own. Cripps picks it up cleanly in the ends, and then grabbed was Chera. So here's a turnover. Palpepper receiving it from Rosie, runs hard, and then sends it down the corridor to Georgiades.
And that's the change. They've had to make the change. Recognise that Wiedering couldn't go with this man. What a presence in the forward line he's become. He's taken the AFL by storm. Great run-down chase there from Horn Francis. But this guy on the lead, what a beast.
There's some class there. Tackle from Horn Francis. Elite, and can Georgiades convert now? He'll be kicking from just outside 50. Young man saunters in, gives it everything, and it's going to register a behind.
He's got the capacity when he gets ahead of steam, Georgiades, just to really get on a roll. 7 goals, 4 last time he was out here pre-bye. Is that he's the sort of player that draws the footy, because he really is the only key forward ahead of the ball for Port Adelaide, that he can get a lot of opportunity.
The coach did say, Kenny Hinkley pre-game, he'd love some support for Georgiades. Akers left the ground in the first term. Good to see him back out there. Hewitt squeezed the ball on the 45. Young, Chera, Wilson, Doherty, better from the Blues, although the inside 50 ball's not what they were desiring. It's the confidence of Rosie performing check sides, trying to get out of defence. Doesn't quite work out. Cripps. Downfield. He's caught one downfield, and they'll go up Palpepper, but more importantly, as Palpepper rolls on the ground, the Blues will get a shot at goal. It's with Akers, who doesn't look keen. Still looks to try and lay it off. There's a scuffle's going on. Now Akers goes back.
Keep your hands to yourselves. As a general rule of thumb, I don't like to pick on the crazy ones, Howie. I'd be staying well away from Palpepper. He looks like he's comfortable in that situation.
He does. So Akers had the darting eyes a couple of times. How Carlton would love this to start the term. Not going their way so far this evening. Hooks it and misses.
So Sin really throws his boot into that. That's a good, strong mark by Jackson. Young man doing some really good things early. This is his 4th game. He's had a fair bit off it. He's almost had 10 disposals, 9 to be exact. Sit-in ball, he's going to get his 10th here. So Jackson, wobbly one inside 50, and Visentini all on his own.
Yeah, and he was there for a minute. When the kick out was on, he was charging forward through the corridor. They're running them here. Carlton cannot go with Port Adelaide. They are breaking into space all over the field.
Terrific half volley to initially give it to Jackson. So Visentini to come, and he's kicked one behind already tonight. So he's worked the shot clock right down. Minimal angle, but off the side of the boot, never looked likely.
Even the kick out there from Port Adelaide, they're over halfway in a split second. There's no pressure on the man that gets the ball kicked to the pocket, and all of a sudden Carlton, they've bypassed half their defence with speed of ball.
They could have easily given up 8 or 9 as well, the Blues. A couple of misses that typically kick Port Adelaide. So a couple to Visentini in the behind column. Worked underneath it. Free kick going, Zerg Thatcher. Advantage taken, and taken nicely to Bergman. He's got the runner, uses Butters, takes a bit off the kick. Burn Jones. There are options galore inside 50 for Port Adelaide.
Thank you.
And that's the difference. You see Sam Doherty at the other end of the ground a minute ago, has a clear run inside 50 and just doesn't make the most of his opportunity. A turnover here. This is why Zach Battles is one of the best players in the competition. Has the ability at full tilt with a tag and Chincotta right behind him to just drop that one into a mark for Darcy Burn-Jones.
Game 2-13. Kicked the opening goal of the match. Burn-Jones directly in front. Leans back on it. Another one for Port Adelaide. They've got 6 on the board. Carlton 0. 4-4. It is already out to a 38-point margin.
Yeah, that's their 8th mark inside 50. It's become easy. They're just finding easy options at speed. Port Adelaide have the clarity, have the confidence. You can just see it's the total opposite to what Carlton are playing with at the moment. The dare to pull that back into the corridor, and then they just stay aggressive. Run and gun, all forwards proactive. A pretty simple game when you play it like that. This has the look or the hallmarks of a game that's going to get really ugly for the Blues if they don't respond here in a hurry.
We highlighted Carlton, how good they were in the first quarter and indeed the first half. They just don't look anything like it here tonight.
8-time All-Australian Mark Rashudo on the boundary. Sweet, slaps it with interest. Bergman tries to nudge it forward. Motlop a little fumble, controlled it to De Koning with a little bit of composure, spreading it wide to Fogarty, but overclubbed it, grabbed by Farrell.
Playing full of confidence, Port Adelaide. Farrell looks to the middle of the oval. The option's now coming short. Looks for Powell Pepper. Strong hands above the footy. Receives the free. Chop against Motlop. Plays on Powell Pepper. Drives another ball forward. He's taken down after he got rid of it. It'll be downfield. And now some ill discipline coming into the Blues game.
Yeah, and this is what happens when things aren't going your way. Players start to take their frustrations out in different ways, and clearly there, Motlop's gone on ball. But that is a free kick every day of the week downfield. And Mitch Georgiades has had the ball on a string. The last thing you need if you're Carlton is giving him a free kick downfield and another shot on goal.
Georgiades already kicked a couple and missed one. He'll kick it from just outside 50 and then takes a bit off the kick to a dangerous area, falls to ground, as does Drew. Richards, Silvani, kick smothered. Pressure still comes out towards Powell Pepper from Horn Francis. Now back to Georgiades. Lines up this time. Georgiades is drawing. Not enough. They are peppering the goals, the home side.
Quick exit outside 50, Doherty.
Behind your mark. Stop. Behind your mark.
Could be a whole lot worse on the scoreboard than it currently is.
Oh, this is ugly.
We marvelled at Port's ability to be straight, and then all of a sudden you look down, the kick 6, goal 7. So you're right, Howard. 39 points. This could be 60 at the moment.
Silvani's kick hung for a little while, but Haynes So trying to manufacture something off half-back, high ball, and filling the slot easily was Rosie. It's comprehensive, isn't it?
Yeah, he came from 30 metres away. I mean, that's the difference at the moment, the intent, the attitude to get there, outnumber, provide support. Port Adelaide have got it. Carlton need to find it quickly.
So giving ground to Sin, and then back to Rosie. A little bit of keepings off along the flank, then back to Sin. So the switch is on to the outer side. Aaliyah's out there, so too Drew. Drew couldn't complete the mark. Aaliyah with the crumbs. Here's Jackson, running hard Burgoyne. Towards the pocket, Georgiades sits, waits, grabbed it, off the ground. Richards progressed at 5 metres. Wiedering came in, took his medicine. Burn Jones trying to get it to the advantage of Georgiades. Back to Wiedering, off a step straight down the throat of Burgoyne.
It's 41 marks to 17. They're just smashing them, Port Adelaide. Pressure's up high too. Carlton didn't bring it. They're the best pressure side, or second best in the comp, but not tonight.
It's a big statement there from Darcy Byrne-Jones. He's had 4 disposals, but he's been involved in a hell of a lot more than that.
So celebrated his 50th last time. Not the easiest of kicks, but no breeze to speak of. And just a little bit to the left. But as Howie mentioned, that's 6-8-44 now, so they've had their chances as well.
Michael Voss moving down towards the bench.
This is something we haven't seen for a while. Michael Voss coaching from the bench, so
either that or going home.
Sard looking for something down the line. Manny provides the spoil, overruns it, goes back in a second time. Does Manny Lydi.
Fossey said before the game, sometimes you have to give him a spray to wake him up. He might have to give him one at half time, I think. Or he might do it during the quarter.
Gone straight for the magnets. In the meantime, ball just pinballing around, and it's going to be a free kick against Hollands, and it's going to Sweet. So we'll keep a very close eye on the Carlton coach as Jordan Sweet sets up for goal. He's kicked 2 this year. So what movement are we going to see from the coach here? He's moving those magnets around frantically as Sweet kicks a long ball towards the square, and eventually De Koning kills it.
And 5 goals, 4 at quarter time, Port, so they've added 1.5 since.
21 to 8 inside 50s.
Doesn't really matter what the magnets are going to do. It's the effort that the players put on. It's just not up to standard at the moment.
Boyd, and as far as Jones, Mark Rashido on the boundary alongside Jack Rewald, David King and Matt Hill on Fox on a Thursday night.
I just wonder if he's touching the Charlie Curnow magnet. Maybe just throw him up around the ball just to see if he can get him involved in the game. The ball's just not getting down there.
Through the hands of Hewitt. Butters at ground level, bustling away. Chera stands over it.
See that last kick from Jordan Boyd. Switches from, runs around the other way and kicks it 50 metres out to a 3v3. Away from all your numbers. There's no predictability from Carlton. Forced into that by Port's defence.
De Koning catches it himself. Hands too hot for Hewitt. Jones comes barging through. An umpire wants it. Cripps on the phone. Vossi's on the magnets. All hands on deck. Crucial times for the Blues. De Koning down to Hewitt. Hewitt does the ringer Rosie and caught. Boat with the free kick. Palms it off quickly. Butters. Chips in the air. Working to the front. Georgiades holding his ground. Hayes. Georgiades gets a free kick.
It's just so crafty. He gets to the back at the perfect time to then come back up at the ball here. He's the player around there. You can even see use Jack Silvani as the block to create the free. And Silvani just grabs the top of Georgiades' left shoulder and gives away the free kick. It's a Tiggy Touchwood one, but the movement back to come forward from Mitch Georgiades is just troubling every Carlton defender that's had a go at him. Wiedering's had a go, Silvani's had a go, he's troubled both of them.
See, the strapping on the right leg, had a serious knee injury before his 20 games last year where he kicked 44 goals. So far 35 this year. Make that 36 and 3 tonight. He's starting to do some damage.
He's up to 4th now in the Coleman medal as well. 36 goals, equal with King.
Yeah, and he's just embarrassing them. Forward of centre, they haven't got a match up for him at the moment. Silvani's now been given the task, but you just see the team first play from Burn Jones, just to put a block on, get the match up that they desire, and then you draw the free kick.
There's very little body on him at the moment. If you're Jack Silvani or Jacob Wiedering, you must be pushing Mitch Georgiades by the hips constantly. If he does a little lead like that, push him under the ball, take him away from the space that he wants to create to lead into. At the moment, he's just running a merry dance. No body contact on him whatsoever.
Horror night unfolding for the Blues. They grab it out of the middle again. To Butters, he's got Pepper inside 50. He can roll back and have a shot as well if he wishes.
9 inside 50s to 1 in the second quarter, so plenty of ball coming down.
Lays off to Farrell, who did cop pressure from behind, and it doesn't work out.
As Rue was saying before, they have been fast starters this year, Carlton. This is more than surprising, and they haven't had a goalless first half since round 13, 2018. Could they?
Burgoyne, that's a terrific mark. 7 or 8 of them in the pack, and he plays on quickly towards the pocket. Georgiades caught at the back off hands. Fantasia hung it out to dry, kept it in. Tight ropes the boundary. Kick too long. Zerk
Thatcher out on the wing. Inside 50s for the turn, Kingy. There's Port. Send it back in that direction again. Another marking contest. Horn Francis brings it down. Jackson wobbles it only as far as Fantasia. Horn Francis, desperate for the footy, paddles it out in front of himself. Young wants it, pressured out of it, and again they come Port Adelaide. Wiedering just with a hack forward, straight to Port Adelaide.
This will be number 12. 12 to 1 this term.
long penetrating ball from Farrell. Georgiades, it might float out. Oh, just through for a behind.
And at the moment, it's being played literally in the Port Adelaide forward 50. When Carlton tried to get the ball out in situations like this, or what we've seen already, they've had 11 goes at it, that they can't get it past this Port Adelaide wall. Every Carlton player wants to go up and try and help and get a touch of the ball, just leaving Port free players to form the old school wall.
81% to 19, timing forward half of the quarter. That's a good diving effort out there. Mark not paid though to Lord.
A 4-1 the clearances this quarter in favour of Port. They've got to get their clearance game going. They've got to get their hands on the ball, Carlton. They can't stop them in the uncontested marking chains. Got to win it at contest.
Young grabs out of the contest, sends it forward. Desperate for a ball inside 50. It's been starvation up there for the Blues forwards. Sin fashions a ball round the corner. Doesn't quite get enough on it.
So Billy Wilson, first gamer, 6 disposals so far. Wiedering, Williams. Ball has to be good up the middle. Aggressive kick to Doherty. Now the ball bobbled out of the hands. Nothing doing. Williams kept running over the top. Hollands centering ball. Who's home? He was hoping for McGovern to fill the spot, but it was Lydi who was all over it. That ball's not 15, so play on is the call, and Rosie blazing out of D50.
Down towards Georgiades. Why wouldn't he? Good contest for Silvani. Free kick away to Silvani.
Yeah, it's better by Silvani there, just engaging Georgiades and not giving him a free run of the ball. There's not enough of that happening at the moment.
Now, out of wing ball in the hands of the former Giant Haynes. Squares it back to Hollands. Haynes kicks under pressure. Opportunity inside. Oh, it should be a free kick. The mark was already spilled by Fogarty, and then just pouring into the back of him was the big fella, Visentini, and a rare opportunity for the Blues they simply must take.
Probably more fortuitous than anything else. The build-up wasn't great. Nick Haynes throwing a check side inside forward 50 after kicking into a space where it was a 5v2 and the advantage of Port Adelaide.
Former Cat, 9 goals for the season. To get the Blues on the board, and he's lucky to just sneak it behind. It's hard to describe what we're seeing, Kingy.
I'm shocked, to be honest, because Carlton's effort's been pretty good the last few weeks. You can be critical of their execution with their skills, but their effort's always been there.
Farrell's long-range kick to Zerk Thatcher was excellent. That not so good.
And Port Adelaide have dropped off. Just the last couple of minutes have left the door ajar. Carlton have to capitalise here. They have to get themselves going, get some reward for their work.
So Lord brings it back into play towards the pocket. He's hoping for Curnow. Radagalia, real fist with interest. Isentini grabbed the ground. Mark Rashido, ground level. What are you making of it down there?
Oh, look, just more of the same. It's even actually worse for Port Adelaide, for Carlton at the moment. But Hugh Jackson, look, having a breakout game, just come in this week with their 4 omissions. He's had 13 disposals for Port Adelaide.
Turnover, chair up. And that encapsulates the night so far for the Blues.
Dante, it's your kick.
Dante playing the role of the ruck there. Visentini not wanting to take this kick. The umpire not having anything of it. Run back another 50 metres to take this one. He'll probably just handball it straight to Zach Butters, I would have thought.
So Butters eventually does get the possession. Not his best effort off the boot. Hollands now a chance for the Blues. Doherty inside 50. A couple of forwards there and Curnow marks. Can he steer home the opening goal of the night for Carlton?
He's got a decision to make here, Charlie Curnow. It's sort of on the angle where he'd like to snap it. It is a distance out. Doesn't want to rush through this. Go through the actual routine of what he does in these situations. Carlton need this goal for pride more than anything else.
Staring down a goalless first half. Can Curnow do something about it? When did you say back to Carlton and not kicked a major in the first half of the game of football, David King?
It was round 13, 2018.
Rosie, long ball 2-on-1. Port have the numbers. Visentini had enough of it, according to the umpire. Goes to play on. Went corridor initially and then down the line. Horne-Francis over their heads. And then the Weetering handball into the body of Powell Pepper and out.
Port by 31 at quarter time. Currently out by 46, but for an accuracy it could be up towards 70 points. That's how one-sided this has been so far. Akers wobbles it forward. Alir, Radagalia combine.
De Koning tapped it down. Akers off the ground. Just progressed at 5 or 6 metres. Jones hit it hard by Anders Sweet. Drew, quick hands. Butters knew he had a man there in boat. Flipped it back towards Lydi. They've coughed it up. Motlop, Fogarty, Doherty.
And that's the pressure that Carlton needed to bring at the start of the game. They turned that ball over just by putting pressure on Port Adelaide, who love to handball it out of the back line and bring it back through the corridor. They've turned it over in the forward half of the ground, which is what you want to do.
Of course, he's been one of the great stories. Sam Doherty, final year of contract this year, comes in from just outside 50. It's going to sit right up on the line. Did Radagalia force out McGovern? No, Radagalia with the mark.
Just getting everything right, Port here. I mean, even the role that Bergman's doing on Cripps. Cripps has had the one clearance, 2 contested possessions. He's wearing him like a glove.
Masaba clears the defensive 50. A wrestle between Visentini and Wiedering. Sard, bit of space. Here's a chance for De Koning. Lydi arrives, strips him of the footy. Visentini again. He's going well to Burn Jones, who's kicked a couple. Wide open, inside 50. Georgiades has got 3. He's got a step on Silvani. Steps one way, steps another way around Wilson. Georgiades has kicked 4. And it's party time for Port Adelaide. They are destroying the Carlton Footy Club.
That's just a wave. It's just an absolute wave from half back there for Port Adelaide.
Get to Lydi. I mean, get to the rundown tackle.
Unbelievable tackle.
And then the swoop from Butters, and they're off and gone. This is the explosion we're talking about. Just have a look at the numbers in full flight. It's a great kick. There's only one man can have a play on that ball and then ply your trade. Go to work. He's a special talent, this guy in the Ford 50, Jack.
Incredibly hard matchup too, but I reckon we've seen maybe 10 broken tackles already from Carlton. Silvani gets stepped here. First gamer as well, bypasses him.
Eight disposals and 4 goals too, from which Georgiades back in the middle. De Koning tapped it towards Hewitt, but almost stolen by Butters. Chera, quick hands to Hewitt. Chincotta almost dragged down, kicks it to the top of the square. That's better. Lewis Young with the mark. Bergman was hit hard in the centre circles. We'll see the result, the trainer going out to him.
A blood rule, I think, on Miles Bergman, bleeding from the nose.
So Lewis Young, they're going to stop play whilst Bergman has taken off, which is sensible. And Carlton kicked their first goal late in this first half.
A bit of friendly fire there.
Fire.
It's always Butters.
Can't get fined for that one though, kid. I'll tell you what this does do. It actually builds the pressure on Lewis Young with a chance to look at the scoreboard to know that they haven't kicked a goal. It's not a traditional forward. 2018, Kingy, they haven't kicked a goal in the first quarter, first half, sorry.
Round 13, 2018.
Logan Evans, incidentally, is the sub for Port Adelaide. So Lewis Young comes in and has kicked a goal. The Bronx cheers go around Adelaide Oval. But a bit of relief for Blues fans as well.
Well done for kicking the goal. They're the sort of records you don't want to be talking about. And in the end, there's a quality passage of play. Deep ball, did his work early and converted. I mean, they've only had 14 inside 50s for a half of football, Carlton. Incredibly low number. You look at the other end, they've had 18 shots at goals, 27 inside 50s to Port.
Georgiades with 4, the Blues with their first goal. 1 minute 50 on the clock before the major break. Port by 31 at quarter time, out to 46. DeConey away from Sweet to Cripps was good. Pal Pepper wearing him. Hewitt steps a tackle. Chance for the Blues to move forward again. Fantasia on a long lead in front of Sin. Tries to spot a target inside. McGovern hasn't been sighted so far. Down to Rosie. Radicale with a step and a wobble out of defence. Hewitt set up nicely. Wants to get rid of it. Drops it into the pocket towards Curnow. Spoiled away. Rosie clears with a long ball.
Long penetrating ball out towards true centre wing. Visentini and Haynes go to battle, and it's going to be a free kick, and it's going to Haynes. In fact, Visentini went the fist, and all of the players ran off just assuming that was the end result, but Haynes got the holding free kick and then sends it longer to Lord. Lord's kick towards the top of the square. Kerno, shallow kick. Powell Pepper all over it.
Saw a shot of Bergman going down to the rooms early. Runs his full measure, Powell Pepper. He's going to get it on the overlap. Scums the ball forward to Richards. Now Burne-Jones. He's got Boak one further wide. Gets over the top of the ruckman. Might work out. Richards gets the bounce. He's after. Back to Boak. They've taken it from D50 up towards attacking 50. Back to Richards. Squares it all up. Jones kicked a long goal earlier on. Thought about going. So concern on the outer wing. It's Adam Sard out there. Not in a good way.
Oh.
Coughed a big shoulder and is feeling the effects of it. What did you make of that, Jack?
Well, I hope Adam Sard's all right. Shoulder to the jaw, it looks like he's holding there. They're the ones that you've got to be so careful of when a player does have eyes for the ball and then all of a sudden turns. I don't think there's any malice in it as well, just caught him in the wrong spot. But if you choose to bump, you wear the, if you do get a player high, it's going to be scrutinised, especially when they do come from the ground as well.
Which is exactly what's happening now to Sard. Jones drives it forward, falls to the back to a dangerous area. Powell Pepper can't gather it first time. He's so strong though, takes on a couple of tacklers. Out the back to Rioli. Hasn't featured a great deal so far tonight. Boak overruns it. Half time here in Adelaide. And it's a tough night for the Blues. Sardi's feeling the pain, as are the Blues and their fan base. Visentini, the Blues are into him now, showing a bit of fight up forward. Unfortunately, that fight has not been shown on the scoreboard. Boyd now, they're remonstrating after seeing the replay of Sard. Wiedering's involved as well. But the scoreboard tells a great story for Port Adelaide and a terrible story for the Blues. It was a 31-point Port margin at quarter time. It's blown out. It got the 52 points. Carlton kicked their first goal with 1 minute and 50 on the clock before the major break. Port Adelaide leave at 8:10:58 to Carlton 1-6-12. A 46-point margin. As there's still some skirmishing going on here. Chincotter's involved. The siren went about a minute ago and still the players into it, Matthew Hill.
You're quite right, Howie. Initially, it was Lewis Young who saw what had happened on the big screen to Adam Sard, and that caused him to go over to Visentini and start all of this. So plenty of lip.
Finally, the teams start to separate. Powell Pepper calls his team in. A tough night so far for the Blues. It'll be fascinating to hear what Sarah Jones, Jason Dunstall and Lee Montagna think of this one. Jonesy.
Thank you very much, Howie. Yes, halftime Thursday night, Kitty on Fox, and it has been a total and utter disaster for the Carlton Football Club and Michael Voss under massive pressure coming into the game, and really the opening half could not have gone much worse for them, Jax.
Well, we just saw a bit of fight from the Blues, which is good, because up until that point in time, it was basically insipid, Sarah. I'm really disappointed with the effort that the Blues have shown. They're devoid of confidence. They look to be devoid of hope. They've been devoid of skill in the first half. There's no doubt about that. And it's like the football world has just caved in on top of them and they don't know what to do, Joey.
Yeah, you would have loved to have just showed as much intent and fight as they did, trying to get into Visentini, who simply blocked and checked the player's run, let's be honest. And they've tried to fly the flag in that situation. You would have loved to have seen them fly the flag in the first half with their intent, their tackle pressure, winning contest, all the things that they have been good at that they haven't shown tonight. And, I'm with Jason. It looks like to me a group that have lost belief. So we've tried to promote the optimism around some of the numbers, but last week they were poor, and The question now is whether Michael Voss is starting to lose the group because he hasn't got the response that he would have been after. They haven't played anything like they did, in regards to their pressure and clearance numbers, which have been strong for the majority of the year, as Kingy said during the call, but haven't seen any of that tonight, and you just wonder where their minds are at.
Massive task for Michael Voss now to try and get something out of this group in the second half, because it's a bit like it's all too much for them. The weight of pressure, they've just collapsed underneath it. They've been uncompetitive in the first half, and he now has to try and get them back up, and that's not easy. I don't care what sort of wordsmith you are, how you can appeal to their emotions or to their pride or where you can go, but gee, they've got some work to do, the Blues.
Well, as I said, normally this is their strength. This has been an area where they've been a top couple in the league, and they haven't been tonight. You can see their pressure rating, which is normally second best in the competition. Clearances, they're strong. Inside 50 differential, we mentioned top 3 in the competition, but that's all come about through their defensive effort has disappeared. They haven't had the defensive intent that we've seen. They haven't been able to apply themselves. They've panicked with possessions in their back 50, which has been a real concern. And, of course, the consistent theme about their ball use going forward and shots at goal has been deplorable once again.
So we can see Patrick Cripps there, obviously the captain of the side, trying to rev his side up. But, Jace, what do you want to see from the leaders? These are live picks inside the room right now. What do you want to see from them in terms of getting some energy and confidence?
Well, they're going to try and take charge of their groups, excuse me, but you just wonder if there's anything left inside them. They just... I've never seen a group go so into their shell and not want to be aggressive, not want to answer the critics and all the criticism that has come over the recent weeks, in particular the last 7 days. I thought this was the outlet to get it out, to show that we've still got some fight and we still think our season's alive, but you can count on one hand the players that have been competitive.
I find these shots interesting too, that they've come straight off the ground and they've gone straight into their line meetings straight away. Usually at half time, it's come in, have a breather, go to the toilet, go and get a drink, have a moment, and then you get the group together and you start the reset. So they go straight into this now, into their groups to start discussing what's gone wrong. It's going to be a pretty intense half-time meeting, you feel, because they've still got 15 more minutes.
I'd love to be a fly on the wall in the coach's room when they all go in for Michael Voss's talk.
Well, they look pretty flat at the moment. Let's head to ground level where Mark Prosciutto is standing by. Roo, how are you seeing this unfold?
Look, I think we're all seeing the same thing at the moment. We've all been in these meetings where Carlton are at the moment, and it's not a pretty place to be, Jack.
No, it's not. And I just think at the moment that the compounding of last week, this has been even more disappointing tonight in the first half we've seen from the Carlton Football Club. You highlighted it. That's been the strength of them in this season. They've won 11 out of 14 first halves, but they are just panicking with the football. And I look at their most senior player in Sam Doherty at the moment, just having opportunities to get the ball out of D50 here, just throwing on the boot, playing into Port Adelaide's hands. They are setting up behind the ball so well, and at the moment it is just fumbles. They think they've got more time than they have, and this is a credit to Port Adelaide and their pressure what they've put on. But Carlton at the moment are just panicking.
Maybe the week's got to them, because they looked like this right from the start. They didn't fire a shot early. They've been in the media getting smashed left, right and centre, and they've carried that out in the field, Kingy.
Oh, I couldn't agree with that more, Roo. I just think that the week has made them play tentative footy. They haven't wanted to run. They haven't wanted to engage in the uncontested mark game that Port Adelaide have brought tonight. They've been chipping the ball around. They've been smarter with the ball, and they've just said, hey, come with us. And if you can't, we're going to maul you.
One of the things they've had throughout the year is effort, and they haven't had that tonight. The pressure just hasn't been there, and as a result, Port Adelaide have absolutely cashed in. Kingy, tell us about Miles Bergman on Patrick Cripps.
Oh, he's had the big job on Patrick Cripps, and I guess if you're going to win games like this, you've got to go after the star factor players at Carlton. The first half, Patrick had 7 disposals. He had 2 clearances coming up to this stoppage here. Have a look at Bergman go. I mean, this guy has the potential to be a top liner in our competition. Did the job defensively, and then whoosh, off and gone, and sets up an amazing change. He's only had the 8 disposals, but 3 of them have been clearances. I love what they've done in the middle of the ground.
Yeah, absolutely. He's had all the big roles over the last month, Miles Bergman. And Port Adelaide, they could be looking at least a 10 to 15 goal victory tonight, Sarah, if they don't, or if they can capitalise in the second half.
They have been sensational, Roo, and it is time to really pay tribute to the power and how awesome they've been. Our Harvey Norman highlights surround Mitch Georgiades, who is having an absolutely blinding patch Jason Dunstall. 4 goals tonight, 4 marks, and you love the way he's jumping at the footy.
Yeah, and you're right. We need to celebrate Port and the things that they're doing particularly well. And this guy is just a dominant force up forward, whether it's Wiedering or Silvani, who's rotated onto him at times. They've been unable to stop him. He's just, I love the way he competes. And this is what we were talking about, Charlie Clino earlier. This guy's got a thirst for contest now. He wants to get to every contest because he thinks he's a chance of marking every ball or impacting every contest. And I love what he's doing.
He's chock full of confidence. I mean, it was only last season. He was really the third stringer forward with Charlie Dixon and Todd Marshall. Now he's the big alpha male. He wants the ball kicked to him. He's got the strut. We saw him when he took the mark on Silvani. Look at the confidence, the swagger at the moment. So he's continuing to grow. Like, he's shouldered a heavy load all season, really, with Marshall and Lacoste out early on, and he's had some good games, been consistent, some big games, but now he looks like a player that really believes in himself. And the efficiency again tonight, we spoke about it pre-game, it's been a strength in recent weeks, but tonight they just look slick, they've looked confident with ball in hand, they're running hard, as Kingy said, they're finding the right options, and they are feasting on a Carlton team that are well down on confidence.
And importantly, what you have to do is punish the opposition when you turn the ball over. That's what they're doing. Plus 30 points is a great return.
Must be nice to be a forward when you've got Zach Butters delivering the ball to you as well inside 50. Let's go inside the newsroom now. John Ralph, talk to us about the big hit on Adam Saad.
Well, Dante Vicentini is still a chance to escape suspension for that hit on Adam Saad. You looked at it at first glance, you thought, oh, that's so ugly there. But he would say that you're still allowed to bump or brace within 5 metres. He would say that he didn't jump off the ground, and he would say that, in fact, his opponent didn't see him breaching the duty of care. He'll be really hoping Adam Saad passes a concussion test, and then Michael Christian could say it's low impact, it's careless, it's only a fine. Now, the Port Adelaide coach's box was intriguing at the first bounce. Now, all of us thought, oh, is this a changing of the guard? Josh Carr, the interim or the heir apparent, sitting in the front row. Kenny Hinkley sitting like a naughty school kid in the back row there, just taking it easy. I've spoken to Port Adelaide. They tell me it is not the case. Both Ken and Josh have retained their identical matchday roles. Ken was just keen to have a look at the action from the box. Port Adelaide football boss Chris Davies said he has not had a single discussion with Kenny about finishing up early, but this would be the model. You just gradually transition across to Carr taking full responsibilities, but Port Adelaide says nothing doing this week.
Good stuff. Thank you very much, Ralphie. Well, coming up after the break, we look towards tomorrow. Friday night footy on Fox will celebrate the Bonds' 250th and take a closer look as the Swannies host the Bulldogs. A massive clash, of course. You can catch it all 6:30 p.m. tomorrow night right here on Fox Footy.
All right, folks. Hey, Harvey, how you going? Welcome in, of course. Ella Rose, shouty. How you doing? What's happening, Eddie G? Well, it's all happening for Port. Nothing much happening for the Blue Baggers, although they did score 1 goal. One goal. Manuel's happy about that. They scored a goal. Of course, we had the famous Mr. Tranquillo in the chat earlier on. Great to see Mr. Tranquillo. Been so long. He's sailing around everywhere. My gosh, what a life. Shane, welcome in, of course, and everyone else who popped on in there at the moment. But I tell you what, Carlton fans will be certainly happy where they're at the moment because they've got a goal on the board. And I tell you what, there we go. It came at the 26-minute mark of the second quarter. Wow, Carlton, what are you doing? I tell you what, there's not much to say. There's not much to say about Carlton except I tell you what, they just don't even look like they want to be out there. There's just no pressure from Carlton. There's not much run and fight. Tell you what, they probably used up more energy, Carlton, in that little bit of a melee at the end of the second quarter than they did throughout the whole entire first half of that game. I'm sipping a cappuccino in Lygon Street. I tell you, good luck down there in Lygon Street, young fella. I tell you what, if you go down to the end of the road there, what is it called? I'd have to check my vlog. Actually, I'd have to check my vlog. Let me just quickly go back and have a look at it. The videos. It was actually my last vlog. It was the air pancake you can have down the end of the street in Lygon Street, Carlton. Absolutely fantastic. I think it was $22. I think that was for the standard type one. But geez, I tell you what, they were nice air pancakes down there in Lygon Street. You're in the Blue Mountains. I thought you were in Lygon Street. I tell you what, it could be happening down there. It could be happening, although it's only 6 degrees here in Melbourne, so I'd tell you what, it'd be pretty chilly. Lygon Street, it's a happening place of a weekend. It used to be. They've got some nice eateries down there. Always nice to go back down to Lygon Street. Still got to check out your vids. Yeah, check them out. Why not? You'll see me and Tino in a lot of them, and the missus in the other one. It's all pretty good. Yeah, check them out. That'll be pretty good of you. Thanks, champ. 8:10:58. Port Adelaide 1-6-12. It's the Blue Baggers. There we go. I tell you what, I would like to see Carlton come back a little bit, make a little bit more of a game of this instead of the action that we're seeing out of Carlton. And Carlton are given absolutely nothing. As I said, I think a lot of players for Carlton, they should be up for trade. They need to be looking at rotating players in and out of their team. Players who actually want to be there, give a little bit of fight. Probably some of the older players there need to get chopped out. Doherty probably goes. Look, some of the old ones, I know Silvani has a crack, but he's a little bit slow. Curnow, I think they probably need to get rid of him, get a couple of good picks for him. They're just in a whole world of trouble. That's Carlton. Paddy Cripps always tries. He's having a soft game tonight, Paddy Cripps. Actually, let's just duck over and have a look at the goal scorers while we've got time. We've got 6 minutes to go before the third quarter commences. But Mitch Georgiades absolutely spanking the backman down there. Mitch Georgiades, 4 goals, 2 from his 8 kicks for Port Adelaide. Doing it really well. Darcy Byrne-Jones with a couple. Lockie Jones. Kane Farrell. Singles to Port, and of course Lewis Young, the only goal scorer for the Blue Baggers. Connor Rose tops the table, 16. Port Adelaide, they're sharing the ball around. No real ball magnets. They're just doing their role well. All players out there for Port Adelaide. 16 disposals, 14 kicks, 2 handballs, 5 marks, a couple clearances. Joey Richards next best with Hugh Jackson and Zach Butters all on 13. For Carlton, Sam Doherty on 12. That's just super low. 12 possessions for your top number in your team, George Hewitt. And on 11, there we go, Travis Boak on 11 also. As I said, not real high possession getters out on the ground. We'll be interested to have a look at Cripps when we come across him to see what he's doing. Tom DeConey just with the 10, 11 hit outs from him. Look, their leaders do need to step up, that's for sure. But sometimes it's the leaders in the clubs that are always doing the hard work, a little bit like Sydney, Carlton. Cripps has been holding this team up for years. It's the second, third tier players that need to step up their game. That's where they need to lift. They need to lift in those positions. And that's why, Emmanuel, that's why Collingwood is on top of the ladder and they're so good. Because it's not just their leaders, it's the second, third and fourth tier players that lift, play their roles well, and do what's needed of them instead of just leaving it for the top players, the leaders. Cripps to the pie. I tell you what, he'd be amazing at the pies. I think I'll take the Bontempelli over there just before Cripps, but I tell you what, he'd be pretty good. Talking about Paddy Cripps, there he is. As I said, he's had a bit of a slow game tonight, no impact at all. 8 touches, 3 kicks, 5 handballs, 2 clearances. Hasn't even laid a tackle yet. There we go. Hey, I want to have a look at some of these team stats too before the bounce of the ball for the second half. Charlie Curnow just doesn't know how to kick straight at the moment. He's got the yips tonight. 5 disposals only. Looked okay in the opening term, quietened off in that second term again. 5 touches, 5 kicks, 3 behinds. Adam Sard copped the knock to the chin. Looked like he was reasonably dazed out there on the ground. I'm pretty sure he would have gone in for a checkup. I think that could be the end of Adam Sard for this evening, I would expect, which is unfortunate because he was one that does give Carlton a little bit of run and carry out of the back line. Disposal counts, plus 34, plus 32 to Port Adelaide. Inside 50s. It felt like Port Adelaide had been inside their forward 50 1,000 times, but just 28, still going well, a fair bit above season average of 50. So 28 to Port Adelaide, 17 to Carlton. That is just super low. It's rare to keep a team under 20 up to a half of football, but Carlton only 17 times in there for 7 scoring shots. If you have a look at the ease of Port Adelaide, inside 28 times their forward 50, they've scored 18 times. This number, I haven't seen this number before for a half a footy, 75% efficiency inside 50, and that's what Port Adelaide done. I can't remember seeing a percentage that high up until half time of any game we've covered. Wow, wait, free kicks. Well, surprisingly, I thought it was Port Adelaide's favour just by viewing, but it's actually Carlton. There we go. Carlton have got more free kicks than what their actual score is. 14 free kicks to Carlton, 11 to Port Adelaide. Hit-outs, Port Adelaide winning there. They're +8 in that department. Clearances, +4. Centre clearances, Carlton actually getting the job done there, +2. Stoppage clearances, Port Adelaide around the ground. There we go, double Carlton. 12-6 contested, 53-49. Uncontested, I would expect Port Adelaide to be a bit more uncontested. They've just controlled the ball a fair bit more. They're +33 in that department, 107-74. Turnovers, not a great deal. That's pretty low from Port Adelaide, 24. That's extremely low for half of football. Mind you, Carlton's not too bad on 30, slightly under season average. Not too bad there, but look, Carlton, well, they're not utilising the ball. They just haven't got that run and carry and that wave going, so to speak. There we go, 51-29 in the marks, 22 plus the Port Adelaide controlling. Marks inside 50, as I said, Carlton, well, they've been inside there 17 times. 3 marks, the set shots, and they just couldn't squeeze the goals. 10 for Port Adelaide, so doing a lot better there. Let's just have a look at the tackle count. I mean, both teams are super low on tackle count. Port Adelaide, well, they've had the ball a fair bit more. That's why they've only got 18 tackles. Carlton, they need to lift this. This should be up around 38, 40 if they're going to be serious and put the pressure on. Tackles inside 50, 5 apiece. Carlton, you need to lift, and you need to lift from the get-go, from the bounce of this ball in the third quarter. Nathan Buckley to the Blues. Yeah, I don't know whether he'll do that. I'm pretty sure maybe he was eyeing off, or they were having in discussions or something about the Tasmania job for Nathan Buckley. So we heard on the couch not long ago, but I think that's still a couple of years away before Tassie gets up off the ground. I think they've got to build that stadium. I think that's in the contract. Closed roof stadium there, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I don't know. That'd be interesting. That would be very, very interesting. I think they need a little bit more skillful coach. I don't know. You just never know. Hey, that's enough. Let's head back down to the ground for the bounce of ball for the third quarter. It's Port Adelaide by 46 points.
Half forward for Carlton. So the third term about to get underway. Sweet and De Koning won it narrowly. Drew taken off the football and the umpire saw it.
Adelaide, Port Adelaide, Drew. Come back on, stand. Stay with them.
So Drew, short one to Horn Francis. Filling a hole easily. What's the next option? Georgiades, so good in the first half. Hesitates a little, Horn Francis, but spears one out to Rioli out wide. Then a little 9-iron. Looking for both, punched away from him. And he gets a free kick, the veteran.
That kick from Jason Horn Francis shows why he has the potential to be one of the absolute pointy-end elite players in our competition. He's one of the great inside 50 kicks in the comp in 2025. He just refuses to waste the ball.
One of Port's favourite sons, Travis Boak, we saw earlier, played in that famous game against Carlton, the final game ever played at Football Park. That was some time ago now. 11 disposals. Can Trav get one on the board? He can. Adelaide Oval erupts early in the third quarter. The 3-time All-Australian with a goal.
Well, you can see what he means to this football club. 18 years in the game, 19 years in the game for Travis Boak. The game's record holder here, gets the free kick. Doherty puts that left arm round the waist. I'm not sure whether it was there, but the umpire had the best view. Travis Boak goes back and slots a nice goal.
Most AFL VFL games now in front of Simon Madden, number 8 with 379. His first game, June 17, 2007. Travis Boak. His mum Chicky will be so proud seeing him in action, the boy from Torquay. He kicks his first of the night. And Port Adelaide's 9th. Chera trying to get himself involved. Boak again swoops on it, but a free's been paid. And he's the way off Chera. Can he get something going for the Blues out of the middle? What about Hollands for the hand pass? Elected to kick in the end. Drives it forward. Radigalia, Curnow hasn't been a factor. Hasn't been down there a great deal, to be fair. Drew prevents Hewitt from taking the football anywhere.
I think that's the ball we're talking about. That high ball just going shallow entries, really not going to advantage the Carlton forward line. You've got to build the ball up, find some uncontested marks.
Powell Pepper, Butters, Rosie, wasn't expecting it, took it anyway, back to Powell Pepper, took on one, runs into Cripps, holding the ball.
Patrick, yours. Sam. Move out, Sam. Patrick.
So, Cripps with some quick work with the tackle. Being directed just to go a little bit more acute.
You can see what he's trying to do here, Patrick Cripps. I reckon he's right on his limit. Would probably start to play on as he makes his way in to have this shot to get the extra distance. Smart by Georgiades getting here on the lateral man on the Mark II.
So the champ comes in. He's going to prop it up right on the point line and punch through.
Rosie wants to get moving things quickly. There is Flynn Young on debut, the 7th Carlton debutant for the year, alongside his mate Billy Wilson, premiership player at Werribee. Spread wide to the outer side is good, into the hands of Drew. Received from Butters, sends it further down the line. Bergman in front of Cripps. Happy to give up ground to Farrell. Left foot slider is really good to Radigalia.
And another crisp one to Powell Pepper. Short. Burgoyne.
Stay outside.
Powell Pepper continued on with it. He elects to ignore. Kicks it straight down the line. Up went Georgiades. Rioli! Rioli wants a piece of the party. And Willie kicks the goal. And the nightmare on Adelaide Oval continues for Carlton.
What a goal.
He's crafty, just puts himself in the right place at the right time. A hand of foot, Willie Rioli might be the quickest player in the competition, just to make something of nothing or make it as quickly as humanly possible. Georgiades was open for all money here in an absolute pure lee lane, had to sit under the ball. Actually really good to bring it to the front. That's where Willie Rioli does his best work as a small forward. Just comes from behind the contest, pops it out. You can see Chincotta was his opponent. He went to the aerial contest and Willie does his work deep.
What about the take? Across the shoulder, one grab. No fumble. Look at this. Coming in at an awkward height. Has to reach back behind his ear, grab it clean, quick snap. They've been struggling with snaps this year. 3 goals from 9 shots in terms of snaps close to goal. Great to see him put that one through.
Score review on Willie.
Now, I reckon there might have been a hint that it may have been touched. One Carlton hand went up. We'll find out whether it was an honest one or not.
Checking.
This is score review. Score confirmed. You can restart play.
Good to go. Good.
Good to go. Rioli stays in the book. 10 goals to 1. Game high 57-point margin, and they streak out of the middle again. Butters with a little step forward, hand pass. Horn-Francis doesn't quite get the bounce, or they're away. Comes back towards Lydi in traffic. Back to Butters. 45 out. Options. Take your pick.
How good was Jason Horn-Francis there? Fumbled the ball, Horn-Francis, but then he was the one that actually created the vacuum for Lydi to pick the ball up. He nearly shepherded 3 of them. Just opened it up. And Lydi stepped through, broke another Carlton tackle, gave it to Butters. I mean, this man inside 50, he's one of the best ball users going around. very rarely misses.
3 goals for the season for Miles Bergman. 45 out, directly in front. Goal umpire watches it sail over his hat. And the margin continues to grow.
I thought you gave him the kiss of death there for a moment.
I was talking about Zach Butters.
This is why Zach Butters is at the top of our competition. Just have a look at the scanning here. He gets the ball, he's under a little bit of heat, he's chest out coming towards 50. He just waits until De Koning takes 2 or 3 steps past the clear and obvious target inside the forward 50 in Bergman. It's just terrific play.
Not many players can do that, King. Yeah, it's a great pickup by you. Just you can see his eyes darting away, and the selling of the story of the eyes. It's a really good pickup because he can't. It's even hard to see it from the grandstand, but out on the ground, the ability to sell the story. It's what the great ones do.
Celebrating his 100th in a couple of games' time, Miles Bergman. 63 points the margin. So De Koning goes early. Sweet tried to catch it. Williams goes ferreting through. And then wobbly one inside 50. Punched away. Off the boot of De Koning. Came towards Hewitt. By hands De Koning. Lords almost dragged down. Motlop couldn't rake it in with one hand. Radagalier attacked it hard. Got it to Alia. Has to be fast. He was too slow. Holding the football in front of goal.
Prior to that centre bounce, Carlton had 2 disposals for the turn. Wow.
So both Hewitt and Motlop looked at the umpire. Who's going to claim the free kick? It's going to be Jesse Motlop, looking for his 11th goal this year. So his kicking's been a 50-50 proposition as well this season. And this one is going to glide through for their second.
Well, they're tough games like this when you're in the Carlton situation right now, but you've just got to salvage something from the wreck. You've got to fight your way through this next 50 minutes of football. Important for guys like Motlop to put their hand up. Quiet night. He's been given opportunity in at centre bounces, just his 5th kick for the night, but just good to see him involved in the defensive side of the game.
There is a big part of pride here as well. The competitive pride from each of the Carlton players.
Let's go, guys. Here we go.
Not only playing for yourself, still playing for the club and Michael Voss, obviously, who's under the pump too. It's a part of the contract you sign when you put the Carlton jumper on, the historical Carlton jumper.
Just the 2nd goal of the match for the Blues off the boot of Motlop. Took till 1:50 to go before half-time for their first goal through Young. Another opportunity out of the middle. The fist comes just on Curnow. He has 3 attempts at it. Radagalier saved the day for Port Adelaide. Somehow keeps it in his possession and drives it forward. Well played to Saba. To Boat. He's looking for some assistance out wide in Burgoyne.
Rosie.
Just that last opportunity from Charlie Curnow. He's had a couple of opportunities tonight. One mark inside 50 and he's double grabbed 2 or 3. It's just the icing on the cake for those in the midfield trying to help. You just see here, he's out, he's clear. Gee, if it was any time in the last 5 years, that's a one take.
Possession 20 for Rosie, out to Bergman. Now, called to play on, a little bit stagnant towards half forward. No Mark Burgoyne. Hollands, Akers, over the top he goes. Chincotta, couple of steps ahead of Horn Francis down the line. This is a little bit more promising. McGovern did well. Wobbly entry inside 50. Hits Thatcher in the face. Curnow putting him under the pump. Goes to ground. Still scrapping for it. Jones over the top. And a ball up.
Well, they've all had a bit of the case of the fumbles. Not even McGovern there in a really dominant position. Just 2 grab the ball, hits the ground, then the pressure's on to get it forward. They don't have that composure from a mark.
Big Sweet wanders down into the ruck contest. And as far as Lord, Hollands, Akers, Haynes, sets it up. And that's a better one take from McGovern.
10 metres inside.
on a start with Adelaide here, and you can see you've got to be ready as a forward sometimes for the quick kick, and it came from Haynes. Just put it on to a really dangerous spot. McGovern's a lovely jump at the ball, and that's better.
Just reacted a touch quicker than Radicalair did McGovern. 9 goals for the season. For the first time, back-to-back goals for the Blues. And he misses.
Well, it sounds silly, but when your coach is under enormous pressure, margins become important.
Rosie, long ball to Bergman. To Jones. Big man loping through the middle. Running hard. 1-2 with Drew. Now looking for Jackson, who runs onto the football. His kick was smothered by Holland, still progressed it. Akers by hand, Haynes over the top. Motlop zigging and zagging. His kick, a low one. Made Hewitt work for it, but he marked it. He did it well.
Dishes off, really Motlop not in a better position. Silvani on the half volley, runs into Drew, getting nowhere. Holding the ball.
What a tackle. Absolutely nailed him in the tackle.
And had to as well, because Carlton had 3 free players on the skinny side of the ground. Hewitt decided to go inboard to Motlop, and it needed to be a tackle, otherwise there were 3 Carlton players ahead of the ball free.
Ninth possession for Drew. Now Port through the middle of the oval, sets a task to Bergman. He's got 2 to beat. Fogarty at ground level. Doherty forward hand pass. Lord. Lydi, good tackle. Prevents any forward momentum. Turnover on. Back to Bergman. Wobbles it out wide. Butters has enough time to fumble a couple of times. Back to Lydi. He overruns it. Bit of a scrappy passage. Runs into Cooper Lord.
Just pulled out the 9-9 a couple of times, Zach Butters, tonight. Doesn't quite put his team in a better position.
Visentini in the ruck that time, just flicked it backwards. Bergman's high and long kick towards the square, back with the flight, Haynes.
Marks in this third quarter, 20 to Port Adelaide, 3 to Carlton.
Try and go direct. Cincotta. Sard subbed out. Young into the game. There's a 50. Evans not required yet, the sub for the home side. So Cincotta will run up just past the centre, as you heard the umpire. 3 goals to 1 for the term. It was Port by 46 at the major break. Inside 50 ball for the Blues. There's a man down behind. There's a block. And it'll be a free kick to Ruggle out.
See, again, it's a long, shallow entry. And that's, I think, the issue at Carlton. They need to find an intermediate target and build the ball. Attack it from 60 from goal, 70 from goal, rather than 90.
Radicalia's kick to a 2-on-2. Fisted towards Motlop, grabbed by Bergman, and then Jones. He's got Burgoyne in support, and Visentini. Visentini continues it on with Georgiades. They've coughed it up. Turnover. Fogarty's hands too hot for Wilson. Port are still hovering and a ball up.
Yeah, just even that one there from Fogarty. He's just got to get that ball and use his legs to get out. At the moment, it's sort of a on the back handball to someone's back. Get it and drive it to the middle of the ground. Create something.
Free kick to Hollands. Jack Revolt, Mark Rashudo, David King and Matthew Hill. Thursday night footy on Fox. So he's Port lead it by 56 points. The Blues the next 2 weeks take on Collingwood and Brisbane.
Should Mitch McGovern not be that sort of centre forward role for Carlton at the moment? I see him now. Jack Silvani's gone to full forward as well. McGovern needs to get up the ground. He needs to be that link player. He's got the ability to do it. This play's too deep at the moment.
Push in the back. Dante.
Gets the free kick. Dante Visentini, 202 centimetres into the middle of the ground. Stacks on the mill.
I think Mark Rashudo's spot on. I mean, they've taken 71 marks in this game already. Mid-third quarter, they averaged 90 a game the last 6 weeks, Port Adelaide. This is just keeping us off. Force Carlton to defend for long periods, and they don't want to engage. They did in the first half anyway.
Patrick.
Looks pretty comfy up in the box, Ken, doesn't he?
Pretty relaxed up there, Kenny.
Yeah, he's got to mention he hadn't been up there for quite some time, Ken.
Carlton. Stand.
It's pretty cold down here in the boundary line. I reckon it's a bit warmer up there in the box.
Hasn't been there since round 4, 2023. Must be cold.
Trips to Lord. So Carlton looking to build something. Entry inside 50. Fisted away by Rosie. Burn Jones off hands Boak. Back to Rosie. Blazing through Richards. Has a bounce. He's had a good night. Has a second bounce. Shoots at goal. He wants a bit of everything. Goes through for a behind.
Connor Rosie, how good was that? The defensive action to spoil and then off and gone.
I think if Port Adelaide can keep Miles Bergman next year, and it's a big if, Connor Rosie needs to start halfback. I think he can be an all-Australian halfback flanker. If they've got the luxury of having Bergman in the midfield with Horn, Francis and Butters, he can be super damaging off that halfback flank.
Can they keep him, Root?
Oh, time will tell.
Radical out. Shoves him off.
Always makes you think he knows more than he's telling you, bro.
The cagey answer.
Let us in a bit, Mark.
So Carlton, if this continues, they're going to have another tough week, and then they take on Collingwood under the glare of Friday night football, Jack.
And then Brisbane, so it doesn't get any easier.
Visentini wobbles it forward. Boyd cuts it off. Picks it up now. Powell Pepper gets away from his tackle. Not an easy thing to do. Jackson with the spoil.
It's even fundamentals like that.
He's been good, Jackson.
He has.
Really liked his game. 14 disposals. He's involved in some genuinely tough stuff defensively.
He's been good since you called him Hugh Jackman before the game, Kingy.
Well, in fairness, you could be called a lot worse. And another ball up on the true centre wing. There's Flynn Young's family. Always great to see the shots of apprehensive but excited family around these young footballers. And what a dream come true for the lad who kicked 12 goals from 8 appearances for Werribee in the VFL. Got the call up and texted the boss and said, sorry, mate, I won't be in at work tomorrow.
It's a great thing, the mid-season draft, isn't it, Healy? It provides great stories. 29 days ago, he's playing for Werribee, and now he's out here for the Blues at Adelaide Oval. He did his pre-season with Barwon Heads Football Club. It's extraordinary.
Your mob, Howie?
Well, he'd be handy down there at the moment.
Off a step, McGovern. Skies one. Going nowhere fast. Kerno with the fist back towards the McGovern direction. Radagalia taken to ground.
But it's got those great stories, Jack, of players coming from the clouds and then getting to finally live out their dream. And it's often blokes that have been told no time and time again.
Yeah, and they're quite spiritual players because they have been told no so many times. So it shows that there's a few hidden gems out there, Howie, and that's why recruiting them's very important in the mid-season draft.
Richards turned over. McGovern shins it forward. Aaliyah just swoops on it. To Jackson, or Jackman, take your pick. Sing down towards the wing. Horn Francis does well to keep the ball alive. Powell Pepper, he's kicked a couple of goals. He's got the KB to hand pass to himself, but it doesn't quite work out.
Richards has really impressed me tonight as well. His speed around the ball. Him and Burgoyne have found themselves in a fair bit of space tonight as Carlton has collapsed over trying to get numbers around the ball. They've been quite damaging.
Cripps waited for it. Boak off the ground, enters inside 50. Haynes hit it hard. Rioli hit him, and a stalemate.
Jack, this is Richard's best game for the year, I think. It's been a pretty handy pickup for him, but this is his best game for the year.
Caught by 31 at quarter time, 46 at half time. Currently out by 57 points, 3 goal to 1 term. Blues hack it out of the defensive zone. Jones overruns it. Aaliyah doesn't. Punches it forward. They stand underneath it. Free kick to Wiedering. Haynes takes the advantage and accesses Young.
Young in the Boyd and Fantasia direction. Fantasia picked it up, slipped over to crucial stage, but no one really around him. Collins, Williams, Collins, working concert off half back and then out to Hewitt. So something building here. Fogarty towards the pocket. Curnow was a mile back and Silvani was nowhere near it. Poor entry inside 50.
Yeah, it was a poor entry inside 50.
It's been really good, Asava, tonight.
On the stretch to Horn Francis, a couple of attempts at it. Fogarty does well. Wiedering punches it forward. Lord right at the feet. Holland's made it difficult. Butters head over the footy as per. Now Richards, the aforementioned, spits out wide into the hands of Sin.
Swings it long to Richards. Certainly pricked our ears watching him tonight. He's been very good. Burne-Jones to Lydi. Lydi with the long one. Carlton numbers get back, but it falls to Rioli. Willings in again. Rioli kicks his second. And they lob him at Adelaide Oval.
One of the best front and centre players, front and square, call it what you like, in the competition, Willie. Always a danger. That spilt ball. You can just see Carlton. 3 of them come to defuse this high ball coming in. Look at Willie, just assessing where are we going. There it is. Stays wide. 3 in the air, 1 down, and there was no way he was handballing that. This is my time. Good boy, Willie.
Just look at Jesse Motlop here. You talk about the little things here. Joe Richards runs past him. That there is not trying. Just trying to hand it off to someone else to do your job. Plodding through. Richards runs past him, puts 50 metres on him, and this ball goes up the other end, and you wonder why Carlton backs are under pressure. It's efforts like that that are frustrating Michael Voss.
And Carlton supporters. Bergman, Drew. So, Jack, you've been in this position a million times. In a review, we hear about the review. Does that type of thing get shown to the individual or to the group?
Well, I think it's that what do you want to use as the motivation to get better, and that sort of stuff does get shown in front of the group. And when you're the player, and I've been that player in that position, you're embarrassed about stuff like that. So when you're 63 points down away from home, you are playing for personal pride as much as you are playing for team pride right now.
Chance for another turnover in the middle. Great inside from Jack Rewalt. Now to Butters, takes a bounce. Forward hand pass, just too much on a good contest. Well played, Haynes, left his man. And now Billy Wilson, driving ball forward, too much on it for Fogarty. Curnow, Radagaliz kept him in check all night. He just runs into his mate Jones.
And again, there, Carlton are out. So defensively they've done the job and they're coming on counterpunch and can't find a target. 38 marks they've taken tonight. They just cannot connect as they move the ball full length of the ground.
De Koning slapped it down, grabbed by Farrell. They grabbed him, spilt to Drew. Quick kick towards Burgoyne direction. De Koning grabbed it. Holland spilt it initially, couldn't get boot to ball. Out towards Hewitt, little chip. Fogarty. He's had 10 disposals. He's had 1 shot at goal for a behind. So far for the opposition, Rosie's had 23 disposals. 7 of them in this quarter. Butters with 21, 6 of them in this quarter. Now he plays on here, Fogarty. De Koning was all on his own, and then he was grabbed as he kicked it. Well, that just sums up the night.
Skipper watches on as it unfolds in front of him. Jones is getting involved in a wrestle with Curnow. Couple of real brutes there. Big fly early from Rosie.
Curnow's taking on 2 here, Howie. Curnow losing his shirt. He's got a leer.
Meanwhile, they need him up forward to take a mark. Aaliyah runs into the contest and Fantasia sneaks into a hole. Hand past it. I think somehow Williams has got a boot on it. The goal has been paid in most unusual circumstances, but the Blues won't worry about that. It is a rare goal.
Charlie was wrestling two on the ground, Jones and Asava, and they couldn't get back to defend. So in a really weird way, he's drawn two, Jack. Not as a target, but as a wrestler. And the ball coming quick. I mean, there's many ways to look at this, but just have a look there. You can see as soon as Alia gets up, he wants to get re-engaged and get back, but he's just lost for timing. Risky handball in the end.
That come off the bottom of Zach Williams' boot.
I love the fact that Charlie Curnow come to fly the flag for Tom DeConey. Last week it didn't happen. Great to see Charlie get involved this time, and sometimes that's all you need to spark some sort of positivity.
And that's a little bit of the pride piece that we're talking about. They highlighted last week, but that's pride.
Chera couldn't quite grab it with one hand. Burn-Jones quickly to Butters to Bergman. Bergman with a long ball. It is through for a goal. Everything going right for Port. He's kicked two, and it's their 13th. And some choice words from the Carlton coach.
Three goals, two from centre bounce now for Port for the night. That's a big night. It's a big night. If you're going to defeat Carlton, you've got to engage in the contested game and the clearance battle. He's just been a sensation since he's gone on ball. Recovers quicker, up and gone. It's getting harder and harder to hang on to him, Mark Prosciutto.
Well, his stocks are rising every single week. He's had some of the biggest jobs in football, and last week had his colours lowered a little bit by Isaac Heaney. He was a bit crook during the week, apparently. I don't know why he told Isaac, but he did. But he's packed it up tonight on Paddy Cripps and a few of the Carlton midfielders and done a great job.
Couple of goals, Bergman alongside 16 disposals. Carlton wobble it out of the middle. Rosie flies over the top of Farrell. Advantage paid and taken. Boak will stay down. Haynes is good in the aerial contest. Does well to get it to Chincotta. Moves it forward. Now Doherty, centre wing.
Doherty, wobbly ball off the side of the boot. It was a shocker. Saw Michael Voss having a long conversation with Sam Doherty. I'm sure that wasn't a part of the plan. Farrell in the Lydi direction, punched away by Lords, near the dugout and over. Rosie 23 disposals, Butters 22, Richards 17, and Boak was 17, Bergman 16. Had 2 goals to the Bergman tally as well, as Cripps pats that out to Hewitt and Doherty. Speared one inside 50. Zerk Thatcher flew early. Radigalia trying to mop it up. Farrell trying to run away. Curnow's got him. Had Pryor and holding the ball. So plays on quick. So it's all about respectability and pride now for the Carlton side. They have been hit between the eyes tonight. Ollie Hollands with a rare shot at goal. He's kicked 3 this year, 10 in his career overall. The cat and mouse there on the goal line. So Ollie Hollands comes in from right on the chalk. It's a good kick. It is a good kick. Sailing over the goal umpire's hat for a goal.
Jack, you had so much success at Richmond. Prior to that, you were involved in those situations where you would arrive at training, the cameras were camped out, they were discussing the coach. What is a week like that inside a football club?
Oh, it's one of the worst feelings, Harry, and Carlton have been through that this week, and going on what's happening tonight, they'll go through it again. There is no place to hide. So that's why in the back part of this quarter and the back part of this game, it's so important that you perform to a level where when you do watch it back as a footy club, and they will watch this back with a fine-tooth comb. I bet you Michael Voss is back looking at it tonight, post the game. They'll be looking for actions And we don't look at actions like what Charlie Curno's just done then. So that's a big tick. So you want to make sure that when you're the one under the spotlight in review on Monday morning, you're the one at least getting a tick.
Well, they had a big last term last week against North Melbourne to nearly come from the clouds. I'd love to get something on the board here in the last term. More even quarter. Fogarty sends it forward again for the Blues. Radigalia, he's had a good night, Bigasava. Marks well.
So Radigalia kicks to it, 3-on-3. Sweet with the punch down. Fogarty with the hurried kick. Radigalia in the action again. Silvani with the arm over. Holding free kick.
He's been good. He's been really good. Yeah, the big match up on Curnow. He's delivered in spades.
Ford again, running out of defence towards the wing.
That was his 10th intercept there, Asava Radigalia. Can he be sitting up in the box tonight going, where's this been all year? They're a different side than what we've seen Port Adelaide sometimes this year.
Sweet. Butters, Rosie steps back, away from the play. Down the line. Three-quarter time comes. Port led it at the main break by 46. 5 goals to 3 the way of Port Adelaide that term. Sees them lead it. 13-11-89 to Carlton 4-9-33 by 56 points. The footy keeps coming your way on Fox. Tomorrow night, the Swans off a win. They are up against Sam Darcy. Bonting 250 and the Dogs. You'll see it all right here on your home of footy. That's Fox Footy.
All right, there we go. Hey, game board, shoddy, didn't they? Emmanuel, I knew they would kick goals late. Can you believe it? There we go. Third term, Port Adelaide putting on 5 goals, 1. At least they kicked a little bit straighter in that third term. Carlton came out of the gates. There we go. 3 goals, 3. Carlton, what a fantastic quarter. I tell you what, there we go. I was going to say something and now I've forgotten what I was going to say. But that's a whole nother story. There we go. One of the goals there, Charlie Curnow wrestling 2 of the star backmen for Port Adelaide, which was a great ploy. It was a great ploy because it allowed Carlton to get one of those goals there. And Port Adelaide was short because Charlie was wrestling. Well done, Charlie. That's probably the best play he's done all game is wrestle those 2 players. There we go. Let's have a look at the goal scorers. We had a few more. Mitch Georgiades leads away. 4 goals, 2 off his 8 kicks. Tell you what, he's dangerous when he gets the ball. Willie Rioli bobs up with a couple. Darcy Byrne-Jones, Miles Bergman, also with a couple each for Port Adelaide. Do you think Carlton will win? Look, I think there's a chance to win if they play Werribee reserves. But definitely, I think Port Adelaide could just about pack up or, take a picnic lunch and a cup of tea out in the centre square, and I think they'd still end up winning the game. There we go. Lockie Jones, of course, Kane Farrell, Travis Bokel with singles there for Port. For Carlton, though, we've got a few goal scorers here. Zach Williams, Jesse Motlop, Oliver Hollins, all singles, and Lewis Young for Carlton. There we go. Ball magnets, well, it's starting to rise a little bit. Connor Rose up to 24 to 3/4 time. Zach Butters, 23. Joey Richards, 17. The best for the Blue Baggers. Georgie Hewitt on 17. Sam Doherty on 16. No Paddy Cripps there. He's way down there with just the 12 touches. Tom de Koning with 15. Miles Bergman, they say he's a reasonably good player. There we go. He's on 16, 11 and 5. 4 clearances, 2 goals. So he's doing quite well there. Of course, Paddy Cripps down there. His mannerisms saying, you know what, let's just end this game and head on home, folks. That's what Paddy's saying. That's what he's feeling, I think, out on the ground. He's just at the 12 and he's put 3 tackles on, 6 clearances, but just, it's a game he'd probably rather forget. No worries about that. No way. Jason Horn-Francis on 9. Georgiades, as I said, 9 possession, 8 kicks, 6 goals, 2. Beautiful. 6 goals, 2. There we go. Charlie Curnow, still only the 6 touches, 6 kicks, 3 behinds. Mitch McGovern, 5 for 1 behind. So not doing much. I tell you what, while we Pies will smash the Blues by 100 next week, you would have to think so. You would have to think so. I think Port Adelaide have actually taken the foot off the accelerator a little bit. Just cruising, just taking it like a practice match now and just, allowed Carlton a little bit of score time. Carlton haven't, I can't see anything Carlton's actually done any good in this game. There's not even real patches in this game where they've done something really good. I think their delivery inside 50 is atrocious. Trying to get those long shots in. It's just not happening. The only thing Carlton looked like they did well was that melee where they used a little bit of energy. Certainly more energy. As you can see, some of the players out on the ground, they're just plodding along, just jogging, not chasing, trying to hand off to one of their other teammates and say, you know what, you go and grab that player and just jog. I mean, that's just terrible to see. Absolutely no pride in your team or yourself when you're doing that. You've got to put in, you've got to chase. Even if you're getting beaten, you've got to put in and chase, show a little bit of pride in yourself and in your team. More or not, show a bit of pride in yourself. Play the best that you can, even though you're 56 points down going into the final term where we know Port Adelaide will certainly run away with this game. It just depends. Will Port Adelaide put up their feet like Kenny Hinkley is doing in the coach's box up there? First time since 2023 he's been in the coach's box. He's just kicked back, he's relaxed, he's got his legs crossed. Looks like he's having a little bit of late supper, probably a cup of tea up there. He's smiling, he's happy man up there. Carlton though, yeah, I think they'll be just ready for that final siren to chuff off home. There we go. I tell you what, I'm not sure whether they'll sleep well because they haven't exerted too much energy in this game tonight. So there we go. They'll probably be wide awake on the home trip. Will the Blue Baggers? But for Port Adelaide, this is great news. Hey, let's just have a quick look at the live ladder. If we have a look at the live ladder, this is what it means. Geez, let's just turn this live ladder off for a minute. Carlton were there on 24 points, 105.1%. If we turn that off now, they've lost 6%, Carlton, in this game. Port Adelaide will jump up into 10th position, only one game out of the top 8, but still big percentage. There we go. At least they're still keeping their chances alive for top 8, well, mathematically anyway. Hell, all right, Addy G, Emmanuel, Tino. Hey, let's get down to the ground for the final quarter as Port Adelaide by 56 points.
Evans on the ground for Port Adelaide in the final quarter. So Bergman, the first touches of this quarter, and a ball up.
Thanks, Az. Straight up. Tom, John.
Sweeten to Koning, contest in the middle. Rosé shoves it forward. Now an opportunity. Evans straight on the ground. Chipped forward by Lydi. Here he comes, Georgiades. We didn't see much of him in the third term, but he's already kicked 4.
Third matchup for the night. It's Lewis Young who started forward. He's gone back on Georgiades. Similar story though. You can see here, just fighting for the back position. As soon as he's got it shuffling back, Lewis Young, he's creating space to lead up into there. And Georgiades, he might be the best player leading up in the competition. Best key forward.
4 goals, 2 for the evening for Georgiades. He'll kick from about 46 out for the perfect start for Port in the final term. The number 19 just eases it through, and Mitch has got 5.
Well, the damage is done at clearance, really, and that's been the case all night. If they come out the front like this with speed, it doesn't really matter who the nominal matchups are for this. Have a look how easy this is. This is training drill stuff. Out the front and acres to work into. Just drop the ball anywhere there and it doesn't really matter. through the opponent of Georgiades, you're in trouble. You're gone. It's over. 7 goals 4 to 1 goal 4 from clearance tonight. That is a belting.
And that puts him up in third in the Coleman medal now with 38 goals. He's gone past Ben King and Jamie Elliott tonight. And he's got a few more in this last quarter, I think. It could be a bit of a blowout.
Umpire wants a second crack at it.
Here we go. Straight up.
So they nullify each other in the end. Jackson grabbed by Chera, a ball up.
Bergman, it could be the move of the year. I mean, I'm not sure we've seen a magnet move with more success this year.
Boak. Richards had a good night. Feigns one way, goes the other. And Byzantini, who's had a couple of misses already tonight. Explain the move, what you've seen and why you've enjoyed it.
Well, he's gone from a half-back flanker that wins the ball back. And Mark Rasciuto, he quizzed the coach on what are you going to do with Miles tonight. He said, look, I might throw him forward. But right now, he's a midfielder for me. He's going to play on probably their best player in the opposition, Patrick Cripps. He's lowered his colours and has dominated winning ball in the middle. Third highest possession winner for the Port Adelaide Power tonight. He's been enormous, Bergman.
The beautifully named Dante Byzantini from an angle. And Dante rolls it home, and Port come out of the blocks in the last quickly. Bang, bang. And the margin continues to grow. And he's out now to a game high 68 points.
Exposed out the front again. And Richards sold a little bit of candy here just to create. It was Butters who was able to get that little handball out to Richards here. And just this shift, so you can see there. And then to come back up, nearly undefendable that. Jacob Wiedering, who we think's under an injury cloud with an ankle from last week. Byzantini was nearly brought into that lead from Richards. The King has spoken about it 30 seconds ago, getting exposed out the front of stoppage. It's been centre bounce, it's been around the ground. And once again, you can see the Carlton player coming up, not having the impact and leaving his direct opponent out the back for an easy lead-up mark.
First goal of the year for Byzantini and his second for his career. Fans loved it. DeConing won it down, hoping for Williams. Cripps fighting for it. Williams picked it up. Holland scooped it forward. Saw Akers. Overclubbed the pass to Hines. Cut off. Haynes, I should say. And then Lydi goes in and it'll be a ball up.
That play there encapsulates Carlton's night. Fumble, missed handball, fumble. They just haven't got their hands on the ball tonight.
Well, Ken Hinkley told us pre-game he was hoping for a big win and he'd be able to have a look at the game and then put the cricket on. He's getting his wishes at the moment. He'll be tuning in to Barbados later on. You can see that on Fox. Day 2 unfolding. Curnow, long way from home. Takes a bit off the kick. Alia at the back. Falls free just across the face. It was Fantasia.
So Rosie releases the kick towards Evans. Mark or free kick, whichever you like. The kick's aggressive towards Rioli. Cut off by Chincotta. DeConing to Chera. Chera off a step inside 50. Going the fist circ. Thatcher fell to Orazio. Fantasia kicks the goal. After a previous attempt. Found the right range that time.
Good work. I mean, you sometimes personally got to pull something out of the wreck as well. I think Fantasia's been working hard. Ball hasn't fallen his way all night. And 11 disposals, 3 shots a goal, 1 goal 2. Quality finish on the left. He's got to keep fighting this out. The Blues, 61 points.
Fantasia with his first for the evening. Lukosius, who Ken said was thinking about playing him tonight, Jack, and you asked him why. He said, no, he's a long-term prospect, not taking the risk.
I like that answer too from Ken.
Looking for clearance again, he's Bergman. What a night he's had. Another deep ball forward, coming back with a fly. Really good mark there for Young. He didn't know what was coming his way. He took a strong defensive mark.
Jack Lukosius will be playing in the SANFL tomorrow against South Adelaide.
Haynes, kick along the wing. No Mark Fogarty. Hurried handball. Chera receives it back from Hollands, and then Williams slipped over at a crucial point. Farrell was able to snaffle it. Inboard to Drew. Aaliyah. Switching play. Burne-Jones. A few steps ahead of Boyd. Boat going for a gallop along the wing. Then Lydi just tumbles a pass. Here's Richards, unselfishly towards Rioli, over-clubbed it over his head. Georgiades fetches the football, barges through, couldn't beat 2 or 3, and it's going to be holding the football.
It was a big call by Ken to say that pre-game about playing Jack Lukosius in round 16. Hasn't played a game all year, had a knee injury, had a back injury, and he seriously thought about bringing him straight in. Would have been a huge call.
Leah. Strong grab. Couldn't quite figure out from Ken whether it was a knee that ended up as a back or a back that ended up as a knee.
Or the back of his knee.
One of the above.
It also shows the maturity from Ken. Like, if he was in coaching for himself or selfishly for this moment in time, maybe he would play Lukosius, but clearly he has an eye for the future of what Port Adelaide looks like.
Barrel. Georgiades. Pepper arrives with power and aggression and rips it into the post.
Fair effort to snap it over your head and actually get it skinny there. So we've got a player down here from Carlton. It's like Nick Haynes.
The other thing Ken said pre-game, what's hurting them is their inconsistency this year, and Port Adelaide fans will be looking at this performance tonight and say, why can't we be somewhere like this more often? We haven't seen them play like this since about round 4 or 5. I think it was maybe gather round when they beat Hawthorn, but you know, even last week they should have been beaten by north of 10 goals. So they're just a bit too hot and cold, Port Adelaide. Too much of a gap between their best and worst games in 2025.
8th mark for Rosie. 26th disposal. Drew. Could go wide, could go even wider if he wanted to, but goes short to Rosie. Just happy to massage it around at the moment. Bergman. Let's try and draw the football closer. Rosie. Just like cats with a bit of string at the moment as Farrell spreads it out to Aaliyah. Just working the key.
They're just toying with Carlton here at the moment. Trying to create a lead lane.
So Aaliyah's going to prop it up towards the pocket. Up they fly. Going in is Jackson. Paddled it out towards Drew. Pepe sniffing a goal. Tried to fend off one, and then he was in the phone booth. In the end, Williams cut off by Evans and out of play.
So you talk about actions when you're behind by 70 points. There's also actions when you're in front by 70 points here as well. This is smother from the sub, Evans, who comes on. You can see the fend off there by Pepper. But it's little actions like that Port Adelaide will look at and go, fantastic.
Sweet, grabs out of the ruck. Hand pass stymied. Chera towards the line. Hewitt sees it that way. We were watching Pepper in the warm-up and discussing how difficult a man who would be to tackle Jack. He's a powerful-looking customer.
Well, David King described him as one of the crazies, and I think he is, King. It's steer clear when he's coming at you.
Keep away from the crazy ones. I tell you what, he's a wrecking ball at 450 stoppages. He's had a purple patch in those. And I think he's a really important member of this team. I think he brings an energy and an attitude that sometimes can lapse when you don't have that type of player.
Hurried kick, Bergman. Jackson along the grounds. Haynes did well. Williams did extra well. Fended off his opponent down the corridor. Chopped off by Sin, and here they go again. Farrell in isolation. Another penetrating ball. Here he is again. Powell Pepper, but fisted away from Wiedering.
Well, let's just watch him here. This is what he does do. He generally comes straight through the stoppage. There's no frills, no fuss. Straight towards goal at speed, and if he can trap it, he gets an opportunity. Let's see if he's got the gas.
Defensive umbrella.
Yeah, he's got no energy.
Watch out for Willie Rioli. Boak. Lydi, Boyd in the long sleeves. Inches it forward, across the boundary line, which is exactly where Mark Rashido is. Rude.
Yeah, Jason Horn-Francis, as we know, has been subbed. It's just managed as well. We know he's been carrying a sore shoulder for a couple of weeks and probably getting a bit of help to be able to play with that tonight, but they're just resting him up and trying to get him right. Massive game next week. They take on Brisbane up in Brisbane. They haven't been that good on the road against good sides, Port Adelaide, so that'll be a big test for them.
Found one in Lydi. He's been good tonight too.
The only thing he did wrong was celebrate his first AFL goal when he hit the post, Jack.
Williams floats one towards half forward. Curnow tried to flick it back. Didn't work. Aaliyah. And then inboards to Rosie, who, has he got to 30 yet? No, it's 29 touches. Spreads it out to Evans. Sub goes wide to Drew. So they're just hitting their targets. Doing it beautifully here, Port, as Burn Jones's worm burner. To Richards, and then backing back Butters. Hard to run backwards with the football. Centering handball back towards Richards. Cripps then Motlop, and up the middle. Chera looking for Williams. He fumbles, wants it badly though. Over to Fogarty, that's better. Chera keeps it moving forwards. Young's kick inside 50. Charlie's got his mitts to it. Empty goal square with McGovern. McGovern's got a paddock around him. Should be able to amble in. Check side. Kicks it fat. It's a Barry Crocker.
He had players on 30 from goal for the chip pass, and he put himself before the team.
Could have handballed it.
Well, he could have
chipped it. Kick it.
He could have chipped it. So I think it was Williams unopposed, 30 from goal.
You speak about moments, Harry. That one gets looked at.
Sin is the grateful recipient of the free kick. Zerk Thatcher hugs the line. Bergman's kicked a couple alongside 21 disposals. Heads down the line, Wiedering cuts it off.
So Wiedering spears it to McGovern, who's got a bit of redeeming to do, and then spreads it out to Doherty.
Just needs to go back and take his time here, Sam Doherty.
Been a marvellous player. 3 ACLs, bouts of testicular cancer. He's navigated the waters so bravely for Carlton. And the goal umpire says that's a goal.
He's worked hard tonight. He really has made some mistakes like they all have, but I admire his work rate tonight to stick to the task. 17 disposals up and down that wing.
You could sense that Mitch McGovern felt that he'd made the poor decision only moments before, when he potentially could have passed it to Sam Doherty. Hence was getting up here.
Just have a look at this. He's got Hewitt there. He's got Fantasia all alone. 35 from goal. Blasts away.
2 goals apiece as Stephen Silvani and Joe Silvani look on.
Go on the wing, guys.
31 to the good Port at quarter time.
Problem for Carlton is when you're missing the finals and you have their oldest team tonight for 81 years. Their oldest team playing tonight for 81 years. Don't look at me like that, Howie, please.
Kept that one late in the night. 81 years.
That's the stat of the night, isn't it?
It is. Buried the lead.
In other words, it's not mine.
Correct. Lord sends the ball deep forward. Oh, that was an opportunity for Young on debut, and he realised it slipped through his grasp.
Kingy and Jet, where do you see the ruck tonight? The hit-outs are 44 to 20 in favour of Port Adelaide. De Koning's had 18 hit-outs up against 2 young ruckmen. It's an interesting one.
Yeah, it is. Because if you just go Sweet versus De Koning, it's 6 goals to 1. It's sometimes hard to tell. You look at the first possessions, and they probably favour the tap work of De Koning.
Certainly hasn't stood out as the dominant ruckman tonight, Tom De Koning.
He hasn't. He hasn't stamped the game like we thought he might in the pre-match. So full credit to Sweet Vicentini.
So, holding the ball against Vicentini. Cripps with the free kick. Slightish angle from about 45. Can the captain get a consolation prize late in the piece? He can. So a couple on the run for Carlton, and it's back to 50 points.
They've had to repurpose Patrick Cripps into the ruck. I think sort of to break the tag of Bergman, but also the Young was the backup ruck, and he's been moved in the back. We've seen Patrick Cripps used as a ruck from Carlton early on in this season.
He loves doing it at 450 stoppages. Loves it. Sees as a secret weapon, Jack. He thinks he can get a mismatch that immediate 2 to 3 seconds after the ruck contest, if not at the ruck contest.
Well, he's 195 centimetres, so maybe he's an old school ruckman. And a nice finish there from a man that's been well held by Miles Bergman tonight.
Port by 31 at quarter time, 46 at half time. They got out to 56, kicked the opening 2 goals of the term before Carlton reply with the next 3 to get it back to a 50-point margin. Something late for the Blues. I figure it's going to be a tough week down at Icon Park. Lydi, slick hands. Butters takes a cheeky bounce. Knew he had Bergman. Back to Butters on his hands and knees. Rioli, Lydi, Lord cuts it off momentarily. Bergman trying to get himself involved. Back to Lydi. Now Evans squeezing ball forward in the pocket. Burne-Jones already got a couple. There's the hyphen.
It just looks so aggressive tonight, Port Adelaide. Every time they've come out of stoppage, it's the hunt for that perfect play, that forward handball. Chest out, shoulders out, looking inside forward 50. And Butters has been the architect of most of it.
Second in the BF in 2019, won it in 2020, picked 52 back in the 2013 draft. He's been a wonderful servant. 2 goals in the opening term. He will not add to that tally with that particular effort.
I reckon Zach Butters might have the best footy IQ in the AFL. Just like here is involved in the play, slips over and then handballs off his knees. It's an incredible football IQ.
Curnow snatching that one out of midair ahead of Zerk Thatcher. Feeling Billy Wilson's off the ground too for Carlton with some sort of an issue as Curnow burns that one forward towards Hewitt. Berg going over the top and a stalemate.
Sure, that man there is looking on with pleasure as well, knowing that he'll be steering Port Adelaide next year in season 2026.
Yeah, and with significant magnets to come back. I mean, we haven't seen Marshall or Lukosius. I think Mark Prosciutto's right. They've got to hang on to Miles Bergman somehow.
Chincotta receiving it from Hollands. Out towards Doherty. Evans trying to worry him out of it and does it a 50-50. Did it really well, the Salmon. Got it to Willie. 2 bounces on the logo. Have a third. Over the top he goes. Running hard, Burn Jones. Gets to the 49. Handball inboard to Boak. Richards. He was spoilt in the end. And then Boyd just hacks it out towards the wing in desperation. Radagalia's going to beat them to the punch ahead of Curnow. Ooh. And then Curnow flips him over the boundary line and out of bounds.
Big one-on-one here from Saab Logan Evans. And Willie strolling along the boundary. Here's that tackle from Charlie Curnow.
Have you seen Charlie's game tonight, Jack?
Okay.
Boak receives it from Butters. Just too much on it for Bergman. Tight areas. He's out. Ball's in. Opportunity for Richards. He's out. Ball's in. Blazes away, and now the ball's out.
I say okay. It hasn't had the service that I think he requires as that sort of deep forward, but has won some free kicks in some aerial contests, has done some good things around the ground, but just hasn't had the supply to have a really dominant game.
Chincotta's probing ball marked by Jones.
I don't think they're good enough to leave him deep forward when they were struggling like they were in the first half. He needed to go up around the football, even just change for the sake of change. Just to force the issue, get your leaders around the action. Starvation corner down there early.
Farrell piercing ball to no one in particular. Haynes cut it off to Hollands and then Hewitt. And then Doherty charging off the flank. Here's Young. Enjoying being out there, I'm sure, despite being in a losing squad. Curnow's kick, it's an aggressive one. O'Leary had a fair bit of it, dropped it. Williams around the corner, Fantasia.
He's worked hard, Arati. I've been watching him closely. This will be his 13th disposal, his 4th score.
Yeah. So with this set shot, he's going back after kicking 1-2 already. So Fantasia comes in, ambles in, and a beautiful purchase on the football. Beautiful kick for a goal. Gives some of the Blues supporters something to smile about. That young man will see plenty of success for his team in the future. It's just not their night tonight. Logan Evans off the ground at the moment, so too Billy Wilson.
It's great work, great from Orazio Fantasia getting up the ground there. Curnow getting involved again. See, that was a risky kick, but got to take those sort of risks there. I thought Zach Rims was going to burn the first gamer there, was able to get it to Orazio Fantasia and finishes nicely. 6 score involvements, 2 goals, 2. It's been serviceable on what's been a pretty dismal night for Carlton.
The last 5 to round out the match last week, the Blues against North. As Georgiades has a spell after his 5. They've kicked the last 4 of the game tonight. Whether it gets it back to respectability is a case to be argued. Finishing the game off the Blues. Free kick in the tackle. Butters is disappointed. Lord sends it deep forward. Can they get another one? Out the back, Curnow to the debutant. Young spins it free. Fantasia tries to get clear. Fogarty for another one for the Blues. Not quite.
His radar's been off tonight. Fogarty. Shots for goal and kicking around the ground too. He's had his opportunities.
He certainly doesn't get away with much, Zach Butters, does he? No. There was line ball free kick against.
So Rosie, strong kick, Akers. The fall of the ball, Burgoyne, Farrell, Drew, hospital pass, Butters, Bergman, Sweets, Jones, fast chain of handballs building up to Boak, and then completes the job with Rioli.
We want him to have the shot. I mean, that is as good as you'll see. That's Harlem Globetrotter stuff, that on the wing. The slickest of handball from Zach Butters to keep the chain in flow. And as has been the case all night, they are just getting forward of Carlton at will.
Looks good when it comes off.
Well, the second half that we haven't had that many highlights. Willie Rioli looking for the hat-trick of goals, and that is a highlight.
Well, that's their 8th goal from the defensive half. It does look good when it comes off through. I mean, they have played some pretty entertaining football tonight.
Yeah, they've been at their best, Port Adelaide, no doubt about that. Helps when Carlton aren't putting on much pressure, but their best is up there with the best in the competition, Port Adelaide. But as we've said, we just haven't seen it often enough this year. They have got a pretty good side in tonight. They look on top of the ground, and yeah, they're going to cause a few issues in the run home and keep their slim finals chances alive.
6 disposals for Willie Rioli, 2 handballs, only 4 kicks, but he's made the most of them, Jack. He's kicked 3.
He has. Still, you still can detect in Mark Rasciuto's voice that he's an Adelaide man at heart, isn't he? Okay, Roo?
Easy, Jack. And I just feel guilty, Howie, your favourite player. You haven't been able to call him kicking a goal tonight.
Nah, you've been hogging him all night. You've been hogging him, Millie. Off the outside of the boot from Cripps. Coming back with a flight is Lydi. On debut is Young. Sends it deep forward. Burgoyne tries to cut her off. Motlop picks it up. Creates a bit of space. Motlop should kick the goal. Misses.
So it's back to 49 points in front of a crowd tonight of 30,381. Radigalia.
Been fantastic tonight, Asaba Radigalia.
So both Richards and Farrell with 22 disposals. Richards 4th from the top of the pop spine. Rosie, Butters and Bergman. As Port might not be finished yet, Visentini. He's got Richards ahead, but he spoiled it before he was able to earn it. Lord swings it out to Young. Lydi standing the mark. Young takes on Drew, gets the kick away, spears it inside 50. Grabbed by Motlop, trying to find a little bit of space to De Koning. De Koning snap round the corner, it's touched, it won't be a mark. Akers retreats back, Curnow. And then Curnow can amble in and kick a goal. And, well, that just sums up the whole night. He's missed it by 10 metres out of bounds on the full.
Jones, the recipient of the defensive exit. So just back to the grindstone this week for the Blues. They're taking Collingwood on Friday night. Kingy and Jack.
Doesn't get any easier.
Well, they're going to have to find some answers. I mean, it's relentless, this game. It takes no prisoners. You've just got to front up every week. Coach talked about that in the pre-match. You can't hide. I've had a few that have just been off in terms of their fitness, but that's no excuse.
Burgoyne winds one forward. They got a man out the back. Mark taken. He's had his opportunities. He's kicked one, missed a couple. But it'll fall to Dante Visentini.
Maybe he is the answer to the partner to Mitch Georgiades. Obviously, some injuries to other key forwards, but he hasn't looked at sea. Visentini forward of the ball. He's been okay in the ruck, but that's all you are sometimes from the big sort of resting ruckman, is just to create a contest. Got out the back of Lewis Young there, and Georgiades involved in that play. Already kicked one tonight.
Visentini with one of the last actions of the evening from directly in front. Misses.
Keep that up though and you won't be up there.
I get the feeling Ken's going to play Jack Lukosius as soon as he's ticked that box tomorrow afternoon or Saturday afternoon.
Boyd just hammers it into the middle of the oval. Free kick. Go the way of McGovern. Tough week for the Blues. Finishes with a 50-point loss to a dominant Port Adelaide. They continue to believe for the Blues, maybe not the case. Port Adelaide far too good. 16-14, 110. The Blues 8-12-60. Port 50 points to the good. By 31 at quarter time, 46 at the half, 56 at three-quarter time. Carlton kicked 4 of the last 5 goals. Port by 50 points. Georgiades continues his good form with 5 goals. Rosie and Butters had 30 apiece. Hewitt had 22, Doherty 19. Mark Rasciuto is down on the ground. I think he's trying to get a word with Travis Boak. That man and his football club will be under pressure this week. There's no doubt about that. They take on the Pies on Friday night. But it's a dominant performance. Probably almost flattered on the scoreboard, the Blues in the end.
Yeah. Look, Port Adelaide were dominating. They dominated from the go-to-woe, and you're right, 50 points is probably flattering for Carlton tonight.
Mark Rasciuto's down on the ground. I've just seen him do a 30-metre sprint back to camera, so hopefully he's got a bit of puff ready to go, Roo.
I have. I've got the superstar Travis Boak with me. What a performer.
Yeah, mate, I'm proud of the boys. It was obviously a challenging week after the Sydney game, and I think the boys got a bit of a spray after the game last week, and short turnaround, which is nice, and to come out and play like that against the side who's really good at contested ball. That we're really good.
Why can't you play like that more often?
Yeah, I think that's the frustrating thing. We've had some really good performances like tonight, and we just haven't done it consistently throughout the year, and that's probably why we're sitting where we are, but still plenty to go.
What about yourself? Great performance tonight. You feeling good?
I had a few weeks off. I haven't played footy for a while, so I actually felt a lot fresher tonight. That was good to get back out there. We talked a lot about enjoying the game, and I think we did tonight, led by our leaders and the contested ball, and probably went off the back of that.
What about yourself? How many good games you got left in your bogey?
Hopefully plenty more for the rest of the year, mate. It'd be nice.
Big game next week against Brisbane. It'll be a big challenge.
Yeah, huge one. They're obviously a quality side and up the top of the ladder. And look, if we want to press for finals footy this year and make a press at the back end of the year, we've got to beat sides like Brisbane. We've got a tough draw to finish, but excited for that challenge, mate.
Well done tonight. Hopefully you got a few big ones on the run home.
Appreciate it, mate. Thank you.
The story will be Carlton. There's no doubt about that. They just weren't up for the fight tonight.
They certainly weren't up for the fight tonight, Emmanuel. Hey, let's just check out some of these and then I'll put it back on the commentators to finish out the night. So I can just do this, kick back and relax. There we go, 16-14, 1-10, 8-12-60, the Blue Baggers. It was 3 goals, 2 in that final turn to Port Adelaide. 4 goals, 3 to Port. To Carlton actually winning that final term. So Port Adelaide's theme song, we never stop, 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 till we drop, drop, drop. Well, Port Adelaide, you did stop in that final quarter. You need to get a bit of that mongrel in you. Put sides completely away when you got the chance, especially when let's say your percentage is super low and you need percentage. You got to put sides away. But I tell you what, next week's going to be tough, tough, tough. Against Bruce. There we go. Let's have a look at the goal scorers. Mitch Georgiades kicked a bagful tonight. That's right. He kicked a bagful. He kicked 5 goals, 2 from his 10 kicks. Well done, Mitch. He just looked dangerous. Willie Rioli with 3. Darcy Byrne-Jones. Miles Bergman with 2. Game board, Shouty. Vincentini kicked 1 for Port with Lockie Jones. Farrell kicked 1 and Bo kicked 1 for the Blue Baggers. Orazio Fantasia, he kicked 2. Leading goal scorer for the Blues. Lewis Young, Zach Williams, Jesse Motlop. Oliver Hollins, Sam Doherty, and Paddy Cripps kicked one. Disposal, well, there was only two that reached 30 tonight. Connor Rose, Zach Butters for Port Adelaide, both with 30. Bergman with 25, Joe Richards 22, best for the Blues 22, George Hewitt, Sam Doherty 19. There we go, we'll just quickly run through these. Tom DeConey ended up with 18 for the Blues. Sam Powell-Pepper 17, Hugh Jackson 17 for Port. Paddy Cripps ended up kicking a goal late in that final term. Ended up with 17 touches, 7 kicks, 10 handballs, 8 clearances. A little bit quiet. Tell you what, they'll be all looking forward to getting out of Port Adelaide there tonight, all the Carlton players. Fantasio, 13 touches. He tried hard, 7 and 6, 2 goals, 2 he kicked. Charlie Curnow, well, Charlie, I think your time's nearly up at Carlton. I think you probably got about 7 more rounds or so. And then need to be on the trade table. 12 touches, 3 behinds. Tell you what, his last shot at goal, he was just on a slide angle, 30 out. Ran into the goals and shanked it left out on the full. I tell you what, Charlie, that's all right. Sometimes he has zip, sometimes he kicks direct straight. There we go. There your player stats. Quick look at the team stats. It was plus 53 to Port Adelaide in disposals overall. Carlton pegged back at the inside 50s a little bit better in the second half. They were 17 up until there, and of course 26 in the second half, 55 for Port Adelaide. There we go. Of course, that disposal efficiency, well, the efficiency inside 50 was actually reasonably good for both sides. There we go. Free kicks 21-28. Carlton were plus 7 in the free kick count. So there's no complaints with Carlton there, but Port Adelaide dominated the ruck 45-24. Carlton ended up winning the clearances 35-30. Centre clearances 14-9. Wow, stoppage clearances all tied up. 21 apiece. Collingwood's still on top. We're going to check the ladder in a minute. You better believe they're on top. And I'll tell you what, I think they're about 375 to win the flag. I can't see anyone ready to challenge. There we go, the marks. It was plus 45 to Port Adelaide. Marks inside 50. Port Adelaide got plenty. 16, 10 to Carlton. Not too bad. 16 to 10. Contested marks. Port Adelaide a bit better there. 10-5. Of course, we look at the tackles. Surprisingly, Carlton 59. At least they raised that up a little bit, their tackle count. Port Adelaide very low there. Tell you what, Port Adelaide don't bring a little bit more pressure on their tackle count. They'll get Polax next week. Tackles inside 50. Carlton actually not too bad. 13 to Port Adelaide 7. There we go. Let's go and have a look at the live ladder. Let me see if this is loaded up because we'll hear the theme song in just a minute. There we go. The live ladder now where it sits, of course, Port Adelaide now jump up to 10th above Carlton, 88.6%. Tell you what, that percentage is just, well, that is super, super low. That's like an extra game. But they're a game outside of the top 8 now, Port Adelaide, but that percentage is like an extra game. Carlton dropped down to 11th, 24 points. I think their season is over. That's 2 games plus percentage out. I think that could be just too far for them to manage back, and that is just Gold Coast and Western Bulldogs. Of course, the Gold Coast have still got that game at clear. But the one thing we love, of course, for Emmanuel and Tina is Collingwood on top of the ladder. 48 points, a game and a half clear, and they will definitely win again. Hey, what's on in, let me just have a little bit of a browse here. Don't forget, games coming up this weekend. We'll tell you because we're going to get down to the Port Adelaide players down in the rooms. They're going to do their theme song in just a moment. Let's take you back to there and I'll just let you know who else is on for this week.
Zach Butters there on screen. He was sensational tonight. We'll break down his game shortly. Willie Rioli also a couple of goals was great. Let's go down to the rooms.
Come on, Port Adelaide aggression. We have 1,000 more. It's more than a sport. It's the true Port Adelaide tradition. We'll never stop to the top. 16.
Woo! Port Power. There we go. All right, just give me a moment, and then we're just going to head back down to the commentators to wrap the night up. Don't forget, coming up tomorrow night, I tell you what, tomorrow night should be a fantastic game. This should be a ring-a-ding-ding game. This is Sydney taking on the Western Bulldogs. Friday night football from the SCG, 7:40 p.m. Melbourne time. This is a game where Sydney, well, let's hope they give a little bit of the help. This will be a great test. It'll be interesting to see where the Western Bulldogs are sitting because they've got a fantastic team. I would expect the Western Bulldogs to get up in this game tomorrow night. If I think they're as good as they are, I think they should be winning this game. So that'll be a very interesting game. This should be a good game, definitely a lot better than a game like tonight. You know, tonight's game was a little bit hard to watch. It was all Port Adelaide, just dominated the entire 4 quarters pretty much. And Carlton were just lackluster. Don't forget, coming up Saturday, I don't think I'll be able to cover any games, folks. Unfortunately, I've got to pop on out. But Saturday coming up, if you head on over to Game Board's channel on Saturday, Emmanuel, hopefully Game Board will do the footy on Saturday because I won't be able to cover that, I don't think. And that'll be Gold Coast taking on Melbourne at 1:20 Melbourne time. That'll be 11:20 a.m. teenage time, of course, Game Board's time, but 1:20 p.m. our time here. That'll be a fascinating game, Gold Coast taking on Melbourne. I think Gold Coast will win that game, and I think they'll win it easily up there at People's First Stadium. A home game for the Gold Coast Suns. They are super, super tough to beat up there. So I'm going for the Gold Coast in that one. Following that match, I tell you what, this will be a ring-a-ding-ding game, and I'm so unhappy I can't cover these games on Saturday because these are games I would just love to watch. I'd love to watch the Gold Coast Melbourne game. I'd love to watch the Hawthorn taking on North Melbourne game. I tell you what, this is going to be a fantastic and interesting game to watch. Where's Hawthorn sitting? Where are they at right now? Can they produce a good victory, or can North Melbourne, who had a great victory last week, mind you, I think they only beat Carlton, but they're on the right path, they're on the right track. They're heading in the right direction in North Melbourne. So that's going to be really a fascinating game next Saturday. On Saturday. And, of course, Saturday evening Game Board, Tine Emmanuel, of course, Collingwood taking on West Coast, where I expect Collingwood to win that by probably about 86 points. And, again, unfortunately, I can only watch it because I'll be out. I can't actually cover that on the channel here. I don't think I'll be covering any games Saturday on the channel unless I cover the first one, but I think maybe not. I think Saturday I'll be out, so won't be able to cover anything. And then, of course, Sunday will be a couple of interesting games to watch. That'll be Richmond taking on Adelaide at the MCG. Of course, Richmond, the young side, it looks like they could be starting to run out of legs already. That's right. So it'll be another interesting game to see if Adelaide can actually bring to the fore, being a top 4 side. They should be able to put away Richmond quite comfortably, even though it's at the MCG. 3:15 p.m. Melbourne time on Sunday. We'll be covering that game. And, of course, following that, well, I'll probably cover the final 3 quarters of the next game because the Richmond-Adelaide game will run into it. That'll be Freo. Way to go. Hit them with the high and hit them with the low. Freo. They're taking on St Kilda over there up to Stadium in Perth, 5:10 p.m. Melbourne time. That'll be a fantastic game. That's a game that Fremantle should win, expected to win to cement their spot in the top 8. And, of course, we'll have an Addy G cheering over Freo. There we go. I wonder if he's going to head on to the game. Of course, don't forget, teams this week that do have a bye, Brisbane, Geelong, Essendon and the Giants, they won't be playing this week. They've got the bye. That's the games coming up for the rest of round 16. So don't forget, Saturday, head on over to Game Board. She'll cover the games on Saturday, and then I'll be back on Sunday to do it. Next week, of course, Port Adelaide, I tell you what, they've got a tough assignment up there. Make no mistake about this. They're not playing Carlton next week. They're travelling all the way up to Brisbane, to the Gabba. That's right, to the Gabba, and they're playing the Brisbane Lions. 2nd versus 10th. Brisbane Lions taking on Port Adelaide. That's going to be a tough assignment for Port Adelaide. I would expect Brisbane to win that game. You just never know with those. And, of course, Carlton next week. I tell you what, Friday night football next week, folks. Not tomorrow night, the following week. You got Carlton. They're taking on the might of the Collingwood Football Club. I think we're going to see one of the, well, it could be one of the biggest spankings of the season so far when Collingwood continue on their merry way next week. So that should be just fantastic game. The old rivalry, Carlton-Collingwood. Wow, you're gabba gabba. I know that. I tell you what, that'll be an interesting game. It'll be very, very interesting game. Go Roos, I tell you what. I'd love to see the Kangaroos win. Just looking at the ladder there, of course, looking at, let me just go back to see the games this week. We've got Gold Coast here in 9th position, taking on Melbourne. Melbourne's season is over. They're playing for pride and trying to get everything ready. They're 3 games out of the 8, so they're not going to make the top 8. I know it's mathematically possible, but there's just no chance that they'll get there. Gold Coast Suns, I think they'll have a victory. Don't forget, they've still got that one game in hand, and I'm still not sure when they're going to play that game. If you know when they're going to play that game, Emmanuel, that extra game, Gold Coast Essendon, let us know, because I'll be fascinated. So I would expect Gold Coast to win that game. And you know, it depends on these teams here. Of course, Hawthorn, they're sitting in 5th position, 36 points, taking on North Melbourne down there in 16th position. I tell you what, this is a game I would love to see North Melbourne win. Put the pressure, put the heat on Hawthorn, because if Hawthorn lose, they could just as well be out of the top 8. They could be out of the top 8, Hawthorn, even though they're sitting 5th. They could be out of the top 8 after round 16 if they lose this game. Come on, North Melbourne. We're going to be cheering North Melbourne all the way. And, of course, Collingwood on top of the ladder, they'll absolutely continue and build on the percentage and continue to go clear on the AFL ladder. They're playing West Coast Eagles, so it's top versus bottom. First place is first versus 18th. And, of course, Richmond, 17th down on the ladder, playing Adelaide, as I said. You'd expect Adelaide to win that game. And, of course, with Geelong with the bye, if they win, they will go above Geelong on the ladder, which we would expect. So, and, of course, Fremantle taking on St Kilda down there in 15th. They'll just be wanting to win, or they'll just enjoy a little holiday over in Freo. Of course, Freo's sitting up there in 6th spot. If they happen to win, ring-a-ding-ding, it all depends on, of course, Hawthorn. They could jump above Hawthorn. And for some unknown reason, if Richmond beat Adelaide and North Melbourne beat Hawthorn, well, Freo can win and jump into top 4. Things can happen in the land of football, but there we go. So it's an important round of football this week. Round 16, of course, not many rounds to go before we run into the finals. So it should be fascinating. But 10 points clear, absolutely. Oh, yeah, absolutely, because Brisbane have their bye. That is exactly right. Geelong have their bye. Brisbane have their bye. So this is a big chance, actually, folks, for Adelaide, Hawthorn, Fremantle to really put the pressure on 2nd, 3rd and 4th on the top 4 to make a run for the top 4. Because I would expect Western Bulldogs to win. They'll go to 36 points and they'll jump up into 5th position, maybe even the 4th position with their big percentage. Western Bulldogs are the team I expect Collingwood to play in the grand final, so it should be really, really interesting. It should be very interesting. You know what I was going to do? I was going to actually have a look at the ladder over on my section here, because if we go through the premiership, if we go through the teams here and the odds for the premiership, Collingwood favourites at $3.75 to win the premiership. Brisbane Lions $6. Geelong $5.50. Adelaide, they're $12 to win the flag. Hawthorn are $12 to win the flag. Fremantle, well, they're the outsiders in the top 8. They're $23. The Giants are $15 to win the premiership. They should be more like $25. The Western Bulldogs, stand by, folks, $8. $8 to win the flag. The Western Bulldogs, 4th favourites to win there. And, of course, the Gold Coast Suns, $34 to win the premiership. And 300 to 1 is Port Adelaide. There are the odds on the premiership so far. And I think, Emmanuel, the $3.75 could be good value because you're not going to get that on grand final day, $3.75. So it could be worth having a wager on the Magpies and having maybe a little saver on the Western Bulldogs, because I think the Western Bulldogs will tighten in after the weekend. And I think you're on a winner chicken dinner. There we go. There's your quinola bet. I haven't checked out the multis yet, but very, very interesting. Very, very, very interesting. I should check that out. Not sure what they'll be, but we could do it. All right, hey, that's enough of me talking. Thanks everyone for popping in. Of course, we had the clever chat in tonight. 85% picking Port Adelaide in the poll. Well done, everyone. Oh, that's enough of me talking. Hey, we'll catch you tomorrow night, Friday night football, where it's going to be the Sydney Swans taking on the might of the team I think will play off in the grand final, the Western Bulldogs. Should be fantastic. All right, let me take you back down to the commentators. I'll let it run there for about 10 minutes or so. Give a little bit of a listen on some of the analysis before we wrap this up one. But thanks, Emmanuel. Thanks, Tino. Thanks, everyone, for popping on in. We'll see you tomorrow night, Friday night football.
I'll say, if he does leave in the end, we've left no stone unturned. So they've given him the midfield time that he wants. They're absolutely trying to work hard so he's comfortable there, doing everything he can to bring his family across at times. They've given him a monster deal. As they've said, we probably rate him more than any other Victorian club. And yet, as he's told his friends across the year, he'd love to get home to whether it's Bayside or any of those 6 or 8 clubs that are chasing him. They can all offer him midfield time. And the only thing that's in Port Adelaide's favour is that if he leaves, it's a bidding war. So is he worth a first rounder? Is he worth a top 5 pick? When Dan Houston left, they did it in their favour to try and get the biggest haul. What is he worth if he does leave this football club, which would be a shattering blow given that Butters, of course, potentially goes the year after?
Well, you could argue he's worth 2 first rounders, depending on where they are, if they're in the teens. But certainly Port Adelaide will be asking for a lot, and rightly so. He's elevated his game to an elite level. So, club's going to have to bid pretty hard, but I think someone will pay overs to get him.
So this is an indefensible loss for Michael Voss. So for so often he's been able to say, we're the number 1 clearance side. We understand our mid-forward connection. How does he explain this to Graham Wright and the powers that be, including Robert Priestley, his new president? Because he could always talk about the positives. Against North Melbourne for 20 minutes, inexplicable. Everything that has gone wrong at this football club could go wrong, did go wrong, and we saw that for an entire 4-quarter effort tonight. So how would he explain that to his board? Because that's what he'll have to do in coming weeks.
Well, the great thing about Graham Wright going to Carlton is he will sit there and make some calm, considered decisions. So he'll sit back, he'll have a look at everything. He's very experienced in making decisions, and he's not afraid to make decisions either. But he also understands the need at times for stability and what benefits there are from making certain decisions. Now, right now, if you change the coach, that's going to appease the supporters that are going nuts. But does it help the footy club? Well, I don't know. And Graham Wright will make that decision and make the decision that best benefits the club and how quickly they can turn around the way the fortunes are flagging at the moment.
So North Melbourne's 20 minutes and people could say that, okay, this is a North Melbourne club that's on the rise. As I said, Port Adelaide has struggled, 12th in the competition. The problem is this is a list that's absolutely in its prime for Carlton. These were supposed to be the golden years. They have had 10 years of rebuilding. Cripps 30, Curnow 28, Mackay 27, Silvani 27, Wiedering 27. So you can say it's the list. It's not about Michael Voss. Yes, they can make changes. This was supposed to be the time when Michael Voss was maximising a list. And again, you talked about it pre-match. This is a club that's good enough to get into a preliminary final 2 years ago and make a final last year. So we can't have it both ways. We can't say that the list is good enough to make finals, and all of a sudden now it's not about Michael Voss, it's only about the list.
Well, it's interesting because a couple of years ago everyone was critical that Carlton relied too heavily on their stars. It was Cripps, Curnow, Wiedering and Walsh, and the rest didn't. Now that they're not performing, maybe we're seeing what is underneath this list, and maybe it's not as good because when the stars aren't dominating like they had previously, we're seeing a team that look very ordinary. So I suppose it's damned if you do, damned if you don't.
The other thing you've got to remember is not every rebuild works. I mean, you can sit there and you know what you want to get, but you don't quite get exactly the players you're looking for. So sometimes you have to settle for something a little bit different and it's not quite as good. So not every rebuild guarantees you success or playing consistent finals.
That was the oldest side Carlton has fielded since 1944, Joey.
Yeah, and they've got some decisions to make. There are some senior players, I mean, that are probably going, well, are they going to be part of the future? They've got to bring in some leg speed. They've got to bring in some more ball users. So I think that, I'm not going to be over dramatic with this team. I think that no doubt they've been poor the last couple of weeks. As I said earlier, I think that they look like a team that don't believe they can play finals, and they lost that little bit of hope tonight, which is really disappointing. You would expect much better. But they can make some adjustments over summer. I said Elijah Holland's an important player. Jagger Smith will be back. They've got some other players, Walsh, if they can get him fit. If you can bring in 2 or 3 others, it can still change pretty quickly. I don't think you need to throw the baby out with the bathwater, Jason, and start again. I just think they've got to just take it with a clear set of eyes and just make some calculated decisions.
Yeah, and they didn't get a lot out of their leaders tonight. The experienced players that they probably looked to lean on. They brought in a couple of debutants who we saw, and maybe they'll get more games into these young players over the back end of the season. But I mean, we're looking at the match rankings here for players that they desperately need to have an impact, that are incredibly experienced, and they just didn't get enough out of them. But as I said earlier, when we saw that first half unfold, it just feels like the world's caved in on them. They've just buckled under the pressure of all the expectation and all the disappointment that they've delivered us.
And there are huge decisions ahead on some of those players.
Yep,
so,
correct.
Look, Sam Doherty, that's going to have to be a really tough decision on one of the favourite sons who's beat cancer twice, and he's got good possession numbers, but let's face it, his impact is very limited.
Again, but this is Graham Wright will lead,
yes,
and he won't let emotion make these decisions. It'll be clear and clinical and what's best to get this club going in the right direction.
So are you both right now holding firm on Michael Voss as the 2026 coach?
I'm not adamant, but I just don't think at the moment it's the right decision just to get a new coach. I think there's other levers you can pull first to see if they can regroup and go again next season. That's where I'm at the moment. If the losses continue like this for the remainder of the season, and maybe they feel that the Voss has lost the playing group or something like that, it might change. But tonight in isolation and the performance last week, yes, but over the bigger picture, I still think there's a bit to work with.
And there's little things that the Carlton Footy Club can do. It can announce a review. That can appease the supporters. Okay, we think Michael Voss is our man, but we'll make sure that Graham Wright, who has been at this football club since December, so he's not coming in to make new decisions. He knows everything that is right and wrong with this football club. Okay, I'm going to interview 20 people across all stakeholders. That might buy some time. There is a prospect at some stage. Is Ash Hansen worth looking at as a caretaker coach? I don't think anyone believes that's the situation right now, but that might potentially allow this club to say, okay, is it Michael Voss or is it the list? They're things a long way down the track, but we've had a couple of horror losses, and the teams ahead, Sarah, can make an awful mess of the Carlton Football Club.
Yeah, if you have a look at their run home, the Pies, that's Friday night footy, that's going to be huge. Brisbane, I mean, the next five, really, all of them, except for the Bombers.
And some of those challenges might be great for them. You can't panic. The last thing you want to do is see a club panic and start reacting to the outside noise. So, again, they'll make decisions over that run home, and they'll look at the performances and the consistency of players, and they'll look at who's available in an executive or supporting or coaching role as well as in a playing role, and they'll make some changes.
And Michael Voss's best friend right now is Carlton's history, in which right now, after a loss like this, they would sack the coach by Monday. And so these are very smart men, Graham Wright and Robert Priestley, who's been the boss of JP Morgan. They're guys who, as you say, are very measured, so they'll take all the time they want. They will not be making hasty decisions.
A bit of match review news to have a look at involving Adam Sard and Vicentini.
That's right. This one's right down the middle. So Dante Vicentini's a live chance to escape suspension, even though Adam Sard was concussed and will miss against Collingwood. Here's the rough rule. If you brace for contact and don't take steps into that incident, it's probably okay. If you take 1 or 2 steps towards an opponent, it's labelled a bump rather than bracing. So if you look at Vicentini here, he's walking towards the ball, he turns around, he never really walks towards Sard. This is where he changed direction.
He just stops, Ralphie.
Yeah.
He was originally calling for the hand pass over the top. So he stops, he doesn't do anything untoward. Sard runs into it. I don't know what we expect. The only thing he could have done to avoid contact there was jump out of the way. And we can't possibly expect players to do that.
Joey?
To me, it looks like he blocks his run. He doesn't lay a bump. So I've always thought there's a difference. I know there's fine lines, but I would hate to see him get suspended for something like that. He's just blocked his run. unfortunately got him high, but I don't think it was a careless act. It wasn't a bump.
Trouble is, one bloke's 6'10" and the other bloke's 5'10", and he just stood there.
And we saw with Judd McVeigh a couple of weeks ago. He got off for a very similar incident against Richards, didn't jump off the ground, didn't take steps into him. So I think as we look at that labbed up vision, I think we feel right now that, he's going to be available to take on Brisbane.
I'd be disappointed if he got rubbed out for that.
Okay, it is time now for our KFC FLG moment of the match, and it involves the veteran Travis Stoke returning for this game, kicking a goal. He had 21 disposals for the match. This in game number 379. It was great to see him back, Jace.
Yeah, he said he felt fresh because he'd had a few weeks out. He just keeps rolling along. We know the fitness regimen that he goes through each and every year to get himself in condition to play, and it's paid off because he's 380 odd games and still going.
He and Scott Pendlebury set the bar, don't they, for that discipline and professionalism, and it tells in their games tally.
They've set the bar really high, but it's proof you can do it if you want to, and they are two of the more professional players that have ever played the game, in particular Travis Spoke. So nice to see him still just enjoying, you can see, savouring the moment, knowing there's not many games of footy left for him, but he's enjoying every bit of it.
Probably real boring characters too, Joey, given how hard they work.
Sometimes generally go hand in hand, the most professional, and sometimes more boring.
Well, you're not boring, Chief, and you have got another excellent edition of trivia coming up. That is after the break. And, of course, Michael Voss's press conference is coming up next here on Thursday Night Footy. He answers the questions after a horror night for the Blues.
You're watching Thursday Night Footy.
well, pretty much the whole year, getting our starts right. But no, we got that wrong.
Michael Voss press conference.
Didn't come with an appetite to the contest, and they were able to sort of go from inside out really quickly, and they were able to control the ball more than they should. And we weren't quick enough in our response. And then, being untidy with the ball out of their back half gave even more opportunities back to them. So, but bad kicking's bad footy, and we certainly had opportunities in front of goal, and sometimes we hit the scoreboard, and sometimes we kicked it out in the full, and we should have been better than that.
So a lot of noise around the club this week. Do you feel like the players were overawed by the occasion, and did you overthink what you had to do given what we saw in that first half particularly?
I think it was pretty simple. Having the shorter break means that you're not chasing too much. It's about probably more resetting and then the response. How do you do that? But we just didn't look like we had the energy for the start of the game. We're both, I think, off 5-day breaks, so we had no advantage there. Certainly Port had no advantage there, I should say. So we should have come out better, and they bounced out of the blocks a lot harder, and their pressure was a lot better than what we were, and all the things that we want to be able to value in our game, and we just didn't bring it at the start. And away venues and trying to chase the opposition down, we just couldn't do it. So made some corrections, but chasing the scoreboard, and that makes it really, really hard.
Was it a mental thing?
You'd have to be able to look at the start of the game and sort of go back and say, well, how prepared were we to prepare the style of football that we wanted to play? How hard do we want to go at that? Really is the answer is we weren't. So they put us in a really negative position. Other than going back, having a look at it, it's hard to get any sort of real conversation out of the players after a game. They're hurting. So we're really disappointed with the performance. So we briefed it quickly. We obviously get the opportunity with a slightly longer break now to probably spend a bit more time on it. And not only, what's it going to look like for us moving forward? So that's going to be an important discussion.
Do you feel like enough were willing to dig in and actually, like a different Hawkeye's tendency, and actually dig in and be up for the fight?
Yeah, that'd be fair assessment. Yeah, that'd be fair assessment.
So it doesn't get easier, Michael, but how do I guess the coaching group, how do you assess your methods? And you said the appetite for the contest wasn't there. Where's the balance line? Coaches getting the players ready and the players getting themselves ready?
Oh, it's collective accountability. Yeah, no, there's no separating groups here. It's 100% on what we need to be able to bring to it. We look at always ourselves first. And then you obviously impart some of the things that we need to be able to put in front of the players and ask them to be able to play at a standard as well. So no, this is a collective accountability. So we'll look at it thoroughly and see where we need to correct. And obviously we've only got a week to do that before we get into our next game.
Second quarter, you came from the box down to the bench. You spent 4 or 5 minutes just on the magnet board. Can you take us through your mindset and what's going through your mind at that point?
Oh, more just changing matchups and just sort of seeing whether we could instigate something really. And we got a response, but again, bad kicks, bad football. We just didn't finish our plays, and so when you want to get that encouragement, we had to find that encouragement through different ways. The celebration of little things, that's really important through those moments. The guys stayed generally engaged. Look at the big play late where Akers come off the wing and never gave up. I mean, all those little things matter when you're trying to build these behaviours that are ultimately got to be winning behaviours for us. But we've got to do it more consistently. The year has shown us that we don't do it consistently enough. So trying to decipher what works and what doesn't work, look at that thoroughly, and then we've obviously got to make some adjustments and adapt where we need to. I don't think it's more about turning it around, and now it starts to become about what we value. And what you do find out a lot about is your character of your football team, football club, right now. And what connections needed to be able to ensure that we do get that turnaround that you're talking about. So there is a way we need to be as a football club, and we're not that yet. There's been a lot of foundations laid on that, but clearly that hasn't fully turned to the standard that we want, nor the results that we want. So we'll keep working our way through that. keep providing the vision that we need, keep providing the alignment we're after, keep a look at things that we need to be able to adjust. So that won't change in the next 8 weeks. We'll continue to do that.
As a result, right now, the way you played, especially in the first half, does that kind of slow any doubt in your mind about on the game plan? I think we spoke about that press on yesterday, but the message getting through, I guess, how your place as well with everything.
No, that wasn't. That was unlike us today. What showed up early, that was unlike us today. If you talked about different periods of the game, I agree with you. But no, it was very unlike us the way we turned up. I think our players do a fantastic job of being able to prepare themselves, work out what's needed. But what we've struggled to do is do that for a long period of time. And that's what we've got to keep searching for. Is that part of the method we play? Is that the type of personnel or capacity we have as a group? We have to look at all those factors because it's 120 minutes the game's played for, and we haven't been able to do that consistently enough this year.
With the result last week and what you were seeking from the players today, you get what you get. Does that have you questioning whether you're the right man for the job for the future of the Carlton Footy Club?
No, well, I think when you look at a body of work, and it's going to be hard to probably understand this, but when you look at sort of the results and the shift we've had in our game style this year, there's been a genuine shift in our numbers and in a really good way. We're 14th for forward centres last year. We're in our third. We're 3 for inside 50s in the competition. We move the ball end to end. One of the best teams in the competition. I could rattle off a lot of clearance-wise where we don't get scored against the stoppage. Yet all those things today, we weren't able to stop. They scored from stoppages. We gave away marks. We couldn't build the contest and the pressure around the ball. So we had to find other ways to be able to try and score. But that doesn't leave me in any doubt whatsoever about what we're trying to create here.
But you've lost. There's been different ways you've lost games this year, and you're coaching a side that's built for the now. The cap's been spent, years of building for this moment, and the side continues to find ways to lose and fall away in moments. How disappointing is that? And do you have, questions as to the way forward from here, given what you've...
No, there's probably a longer analysis of this. It's not probably right now. And I guess that's what we're sort of busy doing in the background. What we've got to continue to do is try and create the space for that to be able to happen. So is that in conversations? Is that the way we look at the way we play? That's what we will do behind the scenes. But that needs a more in-depth discussion. We have that weekly review. That won't change. Our consistency, the way we want to be able to play and how we review the game and what happened, that won't change. You've got to walk into our environment and you've got to be able to see the same behaviours every single week. So whether you win, whether you lose, that's what winning is all about. You turn up on Monday, you try and find ways to be able to get better. You look at what worked and didn't work. Right, and this one, we didn't have the effort at the start. So the system breaks. So if you ask me what part of the system broke, well, effort is the main thing you need to bring at the start of any game and through its entirety of the way it's played for any system to work. And we didn't have that today. So unfortunately, then the system breaks.
Jacob too hampered by his ankle injury?
Sorry, who's that?
Jacob Wiedering, was he just too hampered by his ankle injury in the end?
No, he was quite good from what I can tell. I mean, I haven't had a conversation with him, so I'll have that conversation with him, but seeing him in the rooms directly afterwards, he got out of the game okay. Yeah.
Was Charlie a bit down on confidence?
I thought Charlie competed really hard today. And, has had some form struggles, and I understand that he's probably copped some attention because of it, but I tell you what, that bloke absolutely tried his backside off today. I don't think we gave him too many favours, but at the same time, that comes back to the collective stuff. But no, I'm not walking away from that game and saying that Charlie didn't compete. He competed as hard as he possibly could.
What's your message to Carlton fans sitting on their couch tonight who've just watched that performance and you can see that the effort wasn't there when you have the lead-in that you've had, all the noise around the club? What is your message to them to ensure that they don't fall away?
No, we're disappointed. We're absolutely disappointed. But the way through this is not to be sitting. I said this last week. It's not to isolate. It's coming together. If there's one thing I know about working through really tough times, it's how we connect. And what we won't do, you will not see us do, is pass blame on anyone. So what we'll do is sit here and we'll say, what's my role in this? We'll get to work hard on that. But we need everyone on board with this. And so that's the way we'll approach it. We'll approach that, as a group of coaches, as a group of players, the amazing support staff. What I feel right now as a leader is I feel really disappointed for our people. We feel like we're creating a great environment, but we're not getting the results we're after. So we're enormously disappointed. We're not where we want to be. But it's time to come together, not isolate.
How's that start?
Well, he went into concussion protocol, so I only saw him at half time. So, obviously he wasn't good enough to go out on the ground. So, we'll have a little bit of a look at that later. Thank you. Cheers.
A dramatic night for the Carlton Football Club and coach Michael Voss, but Jace, he's very cool, calm and collected in the post-match media conference. You would forgive him for getting a little angry and a bit antsy with the reporters there.
It's interesting. I think he spoke really, really well. He was measured. He didn't get upset. He didn't lose it. He was very matter of fact. And it was all about us and we and the collective responsibility. Now, the only thing I would ask, and I actually don't know the answer, so I'm curious to see what you guys think. Given the pressure that they've been under, the week that they've had, and then the performance that you come up with, and we know how people react so emotionally and call for his head and all sorts of change. Would you rather see him get angry or be bitterly disappointed and say we're devastated, or give something to the supporters or the media that just want to feast like vultures on the carcass, or are you happy with just a no fuss, measured approach?
I suppose the question, do you want Vossi to be himself, or do you want him to appease the angry fans? Because I don't know, when you're right, when you hear him talk in a press conference, it's the same every week, and you go, is that right or wrong? But then you think about Chris Scott, Chris Fagan, Craig McRae, they're always, I think, pretty level, win or lose. And then you can have the flip side. You can have your Dimmers and Clarkos and Bevos and Rossies who are a bit more up and down and emotive and give off a bit more. I don't know if there's a right or wrong answer. I know there are Carlton fans that are frustrated that Vossi speaks the same every week, but in a lot of cases, that's probably the right thing. And Geelong are the blueprint. It doesn't matter win or lose. It's the same message that you review the same way. You treat it each week the same, despite the results. But I know there are others that go, no, we want to see the fiery Vossi that was the player.
But that's just a media conference, it's just talking to people at home.
But
and
people want to watch this and they'll take what they will from it. And I think it's easy to be that way when you're Geelong.
And the media's
because you just play at this level every week, don't you?
Yeah. The media's going to get their pound of flesh this week anyway. He knew that money question, that $1 million question was coming. Are you the man for this football club? I thought he answered it really well, the only way he could, which was in the positives. The glass half empty view here is that this is a 23-game sample size. So 8 victories across a full year now. They've beaten West Coast 3 times, North Melbourne twice, Geelong, St Kilda and Essendon. How did they beat Geelong? So that's the issue for him. It is a quite significant sample size now that this club has to make a decision on. So all the things about coming together and not isolating, and all the positives there borne out, the stark numbers are not in Michael Voss's favour.
The public profile and what he's putting out there in the media conference isn't impacting his coaching behind closed doors. So I think he can kind of do what he does. Yeah.
And the patron saint of escapes is Simon Goodwin, who we were saying very similar things about at 0 and 5. Impossible to see how the club moved on with him. And all of a sudden they won 5 of the next 6. And more to the point, the lag of effect of all the changes this club tried to make over summer, it clicked. It can still click for Michael Voss. It's a minute to midnight, but it can still click.
Yep.
Chiefy, your trivia has to wait because we are going to the media conference of Ken Hinkley, who I'm sure will be very upbeat and positive after the Powers when it was a pretty good night for Ken and the boys.
Righto. Go.
Must be completely satisfied with that performance. What was the best aspect from your point of view?
Well, I think it's pretty all round. Right from the very start, we were on in all phases. We're matching the best team in the comp in contested possession. We're moving the ball pretty well. We're scoring, and then we were able to defend them, even though I thought their intent was to try and move the ball a bit quicker. So it was a good all-round performance and a really important start to the game. So after last week, where we were clearly not where we needed to be, yet now 3 out of 4 weeks, I think we've showed some pretty good signs.
we're sitting up there in the Voss just thinking, why couldn't we play like this more often this season?
No, I don't think like that, because the game's like that. The game's so hard. You know, players go there every week and they do their absolute best to perform it at an elite level, but AFL football is really hard and it's really tough, and if you're a little bit off or you have a few things going against you, like we found last week, you can quickly turn what's been a pretty positive month into a performance that's less than satisfying.
That move upstairs, first time since round 4, 2023, what was kind of behind that from there?
It's something we've been discussing for a little while now, and it's about it's a little bit around, you know, it's what you got familiar with, it's what the players got familiar with, but we're about looking for all opportunities to continually improve, and if that meant being prepared to explore what that looked like and felt like for the players and for myself and for the coaches, we were prepared to have another look at it, and you know, it was clearly tonight's a good result. Doesn't mean we'll stay there forever. It just means it was something that we're prepared to continually explore how to get better as a footy club, whether that's a different training week, different change up to the way we do different things, where the coach sits on the game day.
Well, Miles Bergman, I guess, back in the midfield, well, actually not sick this time, so had, you know, an outstanding game. I mean, what do you see here? What kind of player can he become? You spoke about maybe play forward or centre as well. I mean, does this kind of show the ceiling that he has on him?
Yeah, I think he's untapped. I think he's a really high talent player who can play anywhere across. I mean, it's such a weapon that you can put. As I said, you could play forward. I think he might have kicked a couple of goals tonight even. So he can probably play front of centre and hit the scoreboard. Certainly, we know he plays behind the ball really strongly. And now in the last 6 or 8 weeks, he's demonstrating that midfield is well and truly within his grasp. I think he's a really good player. The other thing I should say is I think he learned a bit last week too. You know, and that's what I love about it. I could tell on Monday, Tuesday when we chatted about little bits and pieces that he was going to be in pretty good space this week. You know, and we understand that if you are a bit crook, it's hard to play this game. I mean, I think Cripper might have been a bit crook coming into this game too. So it's not an easy game to play.
I think very respectful, and you know, he's taking time his decision, but surely after a performance like this, you just say, please make a decision soon. We want to know, kind of thing.
That's up to him. He's got every right to take the amount of time he wants to, and I think the club have said that all the way through, and they'll support whatever time that is, you know, and give Miles the space that he needs.
Kind of back to half that after burning midfield last week. Was that forces or a little maybe a concession that maybe didn't work the way you wanted to last week?
Look, if I'm being really accurate, Connor's probably played somewhere close to 60-40 back mid for the entire period he's been back there. It's just that when you watch him, you see him in a good performance, you see him more as a defender than you do as a mid. I think we use him regularly still through the midfield a bit. It's when we need him, he's our captain and he leads us really well.
Butters was really dominant as well tonight. Do you have a word on his performance?
It's stock. It's pretty stock for Zach. He's a tough bugger and plays really strong footy, and he's clearly important, and he's learning to deal with tags. And I think that's again been another growth of him. Think about Miles' growth. I think Zach is a top 4 or 5 player in the competition. He's now learning to handle the tags in different ways and not just purely aggressively go after it. So he's learned lots again this year, and he's only going to get better.
What does a win like this do for the confidence of Brisbane next week? You know, it's heartbreaking at home, but to show that you can perform like this and you blow a team up or whatever.
Yeah, no, like I said yesterday, we're going to play our season as strong as we possibly can all the way through, and that we know our best footy. And we said again at the press conference yesterday, I think our best footy's been pretty good and pretty exciting. Before the game I even said it, but it's been inconsistent. Our challenge is to get that more consistent between now and the end of the year, and we know that whatever every opportunity we get to play footy this year, we're just going to try and embrace that and play our best footy.
So it's about going to the first quarter again. A couple of young fellas that sort of made their impact. I mean, they kind of set it up and up, but Hugh and Joe had really impacted the first quarter. Must be pleased with the way they dressed.
Yeah, look, I really enjoyed Hugh's start to the game because he's battled a long time to get his opportunity, and he's been unlucky to miss out probably last week and to get back in the side and play in an unfamiliar position. He typically plays midfield in the sample, and he came in and played high forward for most of the first quarter and a bit, and was impacting the game really well. And he's got some composure at AFL level. He doesn't panic, so that was really pleasing. And Joey, you said Joey Richards, again he's been fantastic for us all year, and first time he's come across from Collingwood, and he's really fitted into our club, not just as a footballer. He's an outstanding person. He's one of the blokes you really love around football clubs. Like Asava, they add to the whole cultural piece. They don't just add to the playing piece, they add to the whole piece.
good style. I mean, he seems to be probably the best run of his career at the moment, especially as a defender. He kind of spoke about not getting his head so much. How have you kind of seen what's he done well this year that he maybe wasn't doing so well?
He's getting some confidence. He's getting some belief in himself. And I think that takes a lot, for a player who's, been in and out of football at AFL level over pretty much his career. And he's finally starting to find, I think he's finding some inner belief that's really coming out in his game. And now he just knows that there's certain things that he does in his game that help him play at a level that he's proud of. And I said that to him tonight. You need to be proud of those performances, but also level enough to know that I've got to back up again next week.
Jake's okay, just managed?
Yeah, we looked after him. His shoulders obviously clearly been a bit sore, so we took the opportunity to take him out of the game. What have we got, 9-10 days between now and our next game? He'll be hopefully back to cherry ripe, and he will play a bit more midfield from there.
How nice is that in a position to do that?
Doesn't hurt that you get Jason Horne-Francis coming back to fully fit and quite fresh, so hopefully that'll help us. But the size of the task that's coming is pretty big. Against a ferocious midfielder and an outstanding footy club, coached really well, reigning premiers, not many bigger challenges probably.
What was the closest thing to do on Saturday?
Get a kick, get through unscathed, feel happy, feel strong, feel like he's moving really well, knee back, that he gets through okay. And if he gets through okay, there won't be too much holding him back, I don't think, and there won't be too much holding me back from trying to pick him, I don't think.
You said you were close to picking it up.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, how close was
really close.
Was he in at one point and out?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, that's exactly right. He was in the team, and I woke up Tuesday night, middle of the night, and I'm going, oh, is that the right thing? Is that a bit panicky? Is that a bit too rushed? Is it not the right thing for the player for the long term? And I think that's where the decision came, that we needed to make sure the long term was overriding the short term, because the short term was clear for us. We need another target in front of the ball that's tall, and he's a highly talented player. So clearly a coach is in a hurry to get that type of player into the team.
Which is doing pretty well. Main target there at the moment.
Yeah, he's doing pretty well, isn't he? He's just growing. He's such a good player, such a young player who's he's a bit unpredictable, but yet freakish. He can do some really, really special things, but then he can do some simple things really well. He gets a lot of attention, gets a lot of balls kicked to him, and he competes really hard for us. All right, good on you.
Ken Hinkley, what a classic. Love his press conferences. I think we're going to miss having him as the senior coach next year unless he picks up a job somewhere else. What will he end up doing?
His time is up at Port Adelaide, but not in the AFL industry. He's 58. He's a baby in football, especially wearing that hoodie as well. Looks very funky. Look, I think he'll be a parent for a year. He could work for Fox Footy. But if I was Graham Wright, I'd be calling him. He's exactly the kind of person that they need at Carlton. Maybe as a football boss to help Michael Voss. Of course, great relationship. Wouldn't be threatened by him. If you're Tasmania, you'd be saying, come and work with us as a footy boss. But if he wants to do nothing, he'll still be in demand next year as a senior coach. And I think that's his path still at 58 years of age.
A reversal of the Ken Hinkley-Michael Voss partnership. I like it. Thank you, Ralphie. All right, we've got the trivia finally coming up with Chief. He's been patiently waiting and preparing the big question.